Yo, come on, come all, nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we is, what we isn't, what we is here today, bringing you guys and girls chapter 1055 of One Piece live discussion. I got with me today Eggs for Brekkie and Glitter. Say hi, guys.
Hey guys.
That always helps. Chat, let me know if I need to adjust anyone's volumes. This is always very hit or miss on my side, but hopefully it'll be alright. Um, I guess the first thing to sort of just jump to, I'll just start from the beginning of the chapter. How about that? That'll make it nice and easy, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Too easy.
So we start off. We've got this great color cover page for the entire Shonen Jump magazine, where we've got everyone's favorite red hair Shanks on full display as a absolute powerhouse. Um, Art for it looks great. Obviously, they're pushing like crazy for their advertisement for Film Red, which ties into this chapter quite well. And then immediately after that as well, we get the poster for the movie Film Red drawn by Oda, and then after that we get the tie-in chapter, part 1 of 3, New Age, where we get Uta as an official tie-in manga, which is interesting. Did you end up reading through this part, Daniel?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't read the Uta bit.
I had a
Oh,
wee squizzle.
yeah, just a little bit at the very beginning of the chapter.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I read through that. Didn't
Um,
really. I thought it would be a bit more content.
I
Kind of just like a bit of nothing to me.
yeah. I think they're sort of treating her like Shiki, if that makes sense. Where
Um,
they're tying her into the canon story, but at the same time, she's never going to be really present in the canon story, and she'll only ever have
yeah,
her own like manga, her own separate manga sections, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
like she exists, but everything that we've seen from her isn't actually canon.
Yeah, like everything that will happen in the movie will be non-canon, even if it has canon elements. Um, which makes a lot of sense. She makes her song The New Age, which is interesting because it ties in well because we've got her song The New Age, we've got her chapter titled The New Age, and the chapter of this actual chapter is called The New Age. Um, where we start up, the party's still going absolutely wild. We pick up pretty much where we left off last week with the gang going up against Green Bull. So I gotta ask on this first section, what were your thoughts
hmm
on the on Green Bull's interaction with them in this beginning section?
Um, I mean, it was all pretty standard. Why did you have any like particular thoughts?
Um, well, I noticed because we were talking a little bit about this on Discord, but we didn't go into full detail, right? And I won't spoil for later on in the chapter, but I think I. I've got a big feeling, and I've seen a little bit of stuff about it already floating around the internet, where a lot of people are already trying to really, really downplay Green Bull, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, look, I understand that perspective of it, but at the same point in time, I don't see like I don't view this chapter as a downplay really too much of Green Bull from where I thought he was, outside of being used to hype up other characters, if that makes sense. So like at this beginning section here, we get Raizo use the fire release jutsu on a Green Bull, right? And
hmm
I think the first thing here that'll sort of tie in with it later on is after he starts getting burnt, he uses a technique, Fireproof Forest, which prevents him burning, right?
Yeah. Which we were kind of talking about last chapter, that he's probably just got like some kind of plants that just don't catch fire.
Yeah, so he can adapt his plant to necessitate what it is he's doing, which again later on when the thing with Momo when that happens, I'd like to point out he doesn't say fireproof forest then. He doesn't like if it is just a technique, he doesn't activate it at that point in time. You know what I mean? So this could be more like sort of uh, Yamato's Ice Glacier Fang mirror. Or Ace's Fire mirror, you know what I mean? Where it's a defensive technique, not a not just something that's like a always activated, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, what it would be is like he's turning his forest into fireproof plants, or he's
Yeah.
giving them the qualities of fireproof plants when normally they wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
Normally, they would just be normal plants.
Which, so, but before we go really any further, right? On everyone's top 50s list, we had Green Bull at the bottom of the list of the top tiers. Yeah. I don't think there was
Like number 50, or like as in bottom of the admirals.
like the number 12 of the top 12, pretty much.
Right.
I think
yeah.
we all
So,
I think we all very consistently put him at the bottom of like the Yonko Admiral tier people.
Yeah.
Right? See, to me, this just follows in line with that, if that makes sense. Where to me, the more I've seen of Green Bull, he's been really impressive, really cool, really badass. But at the same point in time, outside of every other top tier, he has probably been the one displayed with the most types of counters, if that makes sense. So,
As in, people can counter him, or he can counter people.
people can counter him. There's probably a greater number of people that can counter Green Bull based on his Devil Fruit than there are any of the other top tiers, right? Like,
Yeah, I guess so, but I think like at the end of the day, I feel like it just kind of fundamentally comes down. Like, I mean, there's more chance that fodder can hurt him. I think it fundamentally just like in terms of a 1v1, it just comes down to like if you have the haki to hit him, you know. Like if you've got like Conqueror's Rio, for example, you can hit any of the admirals. Just
Yeah.
the same.
yeah. But like, what I'm more saying is, like, I feel like there are more people that are a gap below him that have a chance of doing some interesting or reasonable damage than the other
Yeah, like-
admirals. So, like,
Like it's possible that like Rizo could have hurt him if he didn't react to it and do the fireproof forest.
yeah, so...
Meanwhile, like Rizo's not really going to hurt any of the other admirals.
Well, like, see, I could see anyone with heat abilities potentially getting a good hit in on Aokiji based on matchup, right?
I would honestly just say he's like, oh no, my ice is way colder than your fire. Screw you.
I would say no,
Just stand.
only because we saw Ace's fire completely, like, counter his ice. To me, Aokiji's thing is, it doesn't matter what the temperature is, he can freeze it all the same, but he freezes all things at the same rate, if that makes sense. Or at least that's how I sort of see it. So what I kind of see here is, like, our key. So if you look at like the admirals, just using the admirals for example, right? All of them being Devil Fruit users, they all have a weakness to water to some extent, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But okay, apart from having a slight weakness to water, Aokiji's also got a weakness to fire. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't even know if he would, because I mean he fought Akainu, and Akainu is even hotter, so much hotter than fire that he literally burnt fire.
See,
So if that's the case, then we're saying Aokiji must have significantly better haki than Akainu
I
in
would
order to
s-
hold off
I would
him
say
for that amount of time.
I would say it's
Because if Ace can just straight up melt him by shooting fire at him, then Akainu can do the same thing.
well, I would say the same thing applies though, where it's like the natural weakness of heat is cool. The natural weakness of cool is heat. You know what I mean? So they're weak. They're both weak to each other.
Yeah,
Right?
but not to the same degree. Like fire isn't as much against him as magma would be, because magma would be hotter.
I would say it does though, based on what we've seen in the story. So we've seen.
All we've seen is that he shot a bunch of pheasants at Ace, and then Ace melted the pheasants with a counter fire blast.
Yeah.
We haven't necessarily seen them like box each other.
No. But just based on that interaction alone, right? The fact that Ace is able to, like, both of them essentially mirror each other's attacks. You know what I mean?
I mean, I just think that's the same as like two swordsmen exchanging projectile slashes, and they just kind of cancel each other out. But like one of them has better swordsmanship. One of them's better. Just that when they do a little projectile attacks, because it's an anime, projectiles just sort of hit each other and cancel out.
Maybe because see the way I view it though, right, is so Akainu is susceptible to cool based attacks. Like if you're able to hit him with something really cool, it would probably do more damage, right? Even if you didn't necessarily have Haki, you could probably still damage him with something if it was able to withstand the heat and it was still cool, because it's a Devil Fruit disadvantage, like Crocodile with the water. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
same with our Kiji. If you because we saw it with Monet, but perfect examples of Monet, right? We saw people hit Monet with heat and it hurt her, even though she's a Logia.
Yeah, but that's another difference is that Monet is snow, whereas snow is much easier to melt than
Yes.
like hardcore ice. And also like he's not even as much ice as he is like
He's
the
cool.
concept of cold.
Yeah, that's what I mean though, right? Because he's the concept of cold, right? Instead of looking at it as he's ice and just specifically ice, right? The way I look at it is he can bring everything down to absolute zero, but anything that adds excitement, so any heat-based abilities, right? They all affect him the same way. It doesn't matter if one's a superior to the other.
So okay. I guess here's what I'm getting at is like so for example, if Luffy did like a red hawk punch,
Yep.
like a red rock or whatever, that would hit him as if he was like punching him because it's like he's got fire on his hand, which kind of allows him to hit him.
Yes.
The same way that if you cover your hand in water and you punch Crocodile, you can actually punch him.
Yes.
So it allows you to interact with him, but the degree of the degree of damage that you do is going to vary based on
Your
how
actual
hot it is.
skill and talent.
You
See,
punch him with magma versus punching him with fire. The magma is going to do more. Like they'll both hit him, but the magma will do more damage.
yeah. The only thing I might disagree with is whether or not the temperature actually makes a difference or not, because it's the embodiment of cold, if that makes sense. But that's
I
besides
just
this
think
point.
it's like
a bit.
I don't think Oda would have thought that hardcore
Because-
about it. Like, he
because-
would have just been like, yeah, he's nice, he's cold.
The thing is, because Green Bull is a plant-based ability, right?
Mhm.
He seems susceptible to fire. I also wonder if he's also, unlike the other admirals, so you know how stereotypically a devil fruit has one opposite, one weakness, right?
Yeah.
Him being a tree, is he going to be susceptible to fire and cool? So say Yamato, if she's able to start using her ice abilities against him, right?
Mhm.
Is that going to wilt away his plant life? You know what I mean?
I mean, because I mean, like, yeah, that's the thing is like all plants are like made up almost entirely of water,
Yeah.
so it'd be very easy to freeze.
So that's what I was more getting at. Whereas where our Kiji and Akainu probably only have one major weakness based on their devil fruit, I would say, based on what we're sort of seeing here, is although Green Bull can counter it, he has more weaknesses based on his fruit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because it's like we were saying. I think all of us originally, especially because we didn't know anything about him, had a consensus that he was at the bottom of the top 12. Now,
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, is that the reason we put him at the bottom of the top 12 is just because we didn't know anything about him.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
seems kind of redundant to put him above someone. But, like, I would say that, like, during this arc, he did kind of, like, I don't know, like, the thing is that he's constantly going on about, like, oh, you can't beat me, I'm an admiral. I'm an
Mhm.
admiral. And, like, he's really playing up the fact that the reason he's strong is because he's an admiral. And then we essentially see him. So in the past, we've always thought about like, oh well, if the admirals are equal to the Yonko and there's like so many admirals working on the same team, why don't they just go kill the Yonko one at a time? And it's always been like, oh, but like if they took too much damage, like casualties against a Yonko,
Yeah.
then they're weaker, and another Yonko.
it's the exact same reason why Whitebeard didn't go against Kaido, because of Odin.
Yeah, but the thing is that like looking at this is an admiral who is so unhinged that he's like, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna just go off and like not listen to orders and go attack someone. He straight up said in this thing like, I never would have come here if Kaido was here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come here because you guys are here. So he's like literally saying like, even though I don't give a damn about the Navy's orders, I would never come here. I would never face down Kaido because I'm not as strong as him.
I don't see it like that. Like that is not how I read it at all. So like the way I interpreted that scene, right, is essentially like as he was first things first, he doesn't go against orders from what we've seen so far. He follows them. He follows them to a T.
Because he was only meant to like watch. He wasn't even really meant to be at Wano, and then he was only meant to watch, right? Akinu was like screaming at him like, "Don't do anything."
No, what he
He's like,
specifically
"Yeah,
said.
okay, cool," and then he's like, "I'm gonna go kill."
What he
Luffy."
specifically says, what Akinu specifically says is, "Don't start something we can't deal with."
Yeah,
right.
But I mean, he specifically is like, I'm straight up just gonna run in there.
But it worked. Like even here.
But I mean, it's pretty clear that Akinu doesn't want him doing this.
Well, see, to me, it's
just that if he actually successfully took out Luffy and didn't die and came back, Akinu would probably then praise him.
No. I get that, but the thing is as well, right? The only reason Akainu is telling him not to bother with anything is the same reason, on top of another reason, obviously. It's the same reason why he leaves at the end of the chapter. You know what I mean?
But what I mean is, like, he's not thinking in his head, which was my assumption before, was that, like, the Admiral's like, okay, the Navy has this kind of, like, this, thing where we've all decided that we aren't to attack Yonko, because if we do that, there's this reason and this reason. Therefore, under no circumstances should I attack Yonko. But I don't think he cares about that at all. He's just like, would Akinu love me if I did this?
See,
would he hate me if I did this?
I think he definitely is aware of it, but the thing is, like, I mean, it's no different to Kaido here. He's essentially did what Kaido did on the rooftop, quicker, arguably, but then at the same time, like, personally, I put Kaido still above Green Bull, no question, even though Green Bull's arguably shown better armament, like regular armament.
Kaido?
Arguably.
All he's done is stab Raizo.
Well, he stabbed Raizo and he stabbed King.
Yeah, but we don't know the circumstances around him stabbing King, because there wasn't even any haki on his...
Well, it was shown the exact same as it is here against Raizo. Where it's the black-tipped thing.
Yeah.
Prior to stabbing into him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, we just don't know.
Like I said, arguably. Right? Not necessarily given the
There's a little bit of non-Rio haki on the tip of his tentacle.
And we saw him be able to... He one-shots Raizo here, which, I mean, like...
I mean, fair. So good Kaido.
Yeah, no, like, I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, he one-shot King, one-shot Queen, one-shot Raizo. He deals with Yamato and the rest of the Scabbards here completely in the next scene. Like, he just completely takes out all of them. Which, again... After the Raizo thing here, and I mentioned this in the Discord, right? We don't see Raizo again.
All of these Scabbards are still bandaged up. So they're still wounded, and there's less of them than there was against Kaido.
Yes, but they also have other people with them as well.
They just have Yamato, who isn't allowed to attack.
And Shinobu.
And then...
Who Shinobu is essentially been, like... She's essentially a Scabbard. Right. Because that's the thing here, right? Whereas, like, essentially...
Izo over Shinobu.
Oh, dude, I would too, but, like, low-key, like, Izo... I mean, Izo was disarming King. You know what I mean? Izo's no slouch, by any means.
Yeah.
But the thing is here, the point I'm getting at, right, is he deals with all of them here, no contest. You know what I mean? Then, like I said, we do...
To be fair... If he didn't, I'd be like, man is Vice Admiral level.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's fair. All I'm saying is, right? He did as he should have done, and has handled who we expected him to handle. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? Because he shows up here, he handles everyone that he was meant to handle, right? And as I was pointing out last week as well, like, we'll see it at the end of the chapter, right? It makes no sense that these guys rocked up here and Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, Jinbei wouldn't have sensed it, which we find out at the end of the chapter they did at the same point anyway, so they were on standby the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Raizo...
Which is, by the way, that's another thing. Luffy's literally sitting there with his future haki, just being like, oh, they're cool.
I wouldn't say he used any future haki on it. I would say he was just on standby in case stuff got real.
Well, I'd imagine he's making sure that no one's gonna die so that he can jump in.
I mean, Raizo arguably dies here.
I don't think he dies here. No way.
I said arguably, right? Again,
Yeah, I don't
because
think
the
he
thing
dies.
is, right? Raizo gets his essence sucked out of No Difference to King and Queen, which again is the point I was leaning up to. Is either we're going to find out next chapter how to save the people that Green Bulls suck the life out of, in which case we may see a return of King, which would be important, right? Or Raizo died and Luffy truly is a pirate because he just watched one of his men get murked as he's on the sideline, just like, stand up for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is kind of in Luffy's nature, right?
Yeah.
Kobe's,
I mean,
Kobe's like, I'm gonna do this myself. He's like, all right, cool, you might die, but go for it.
well, that's the thing. Luffy was there in case stuff got too bad, but if like one or two people die, that's what you're putting your life on the line for because you're saying specifically, if I walk away right now, you can handle this. So that's why I'm like,
he's just watching it, like, yeah, okay, prove it to me then.
That's why I am genuinely 50-50 up in the air right now whether or not Raizo's alive or dead because all my normal One Piece instincts are like, oh, they're going to save him next chapter. We got Law, we got Marco, we got Chopper. It makes perfect sense to save him. You know what I mean?
I would just say, like, with all of the crap, like, crocodile sucking stuff out of people and, like, with Smoothie and all this stuff, like, I don't think he's dead. I thought they would have made a big thing about it if they wanted him to die.
The only
What they
reason
did was they showed him get sucked off and then
the
went away.
the only reason why I'm genuinely not the only reason why I'm not immediately just like, oh, he's fine, right, is because this death here is how all the other Scabbards' deaths were handled up until now. It was like 4 panels, and everyone just moves past it immediately.
But yeah, I mean, it's good that they move past it immediately because it's a battle. And if they did the anime thing where everyone stands around for 5 minutes, like mourning, while the enemy just stands there doing nothing, like that'd be annoying.
But right,
it's good that they moved past it. But like, I don't know. I
no,
feel like
but that's the thing. That's the exact reason. At this point in time, right, this is the final saga of the series, right? Oda's already shown that he won't necessarily give people a triumphant death. Because no one thought Raizo really died. Sorry. No one thought Shutamaru really died. No one thought Izo really died. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, here's another thing, though. I think, like, if Luffy knew Raizo died, Luffy's chasing him.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem I'm at, right? Where it's like, low-key, the way I saw Luffy at the end of this chapter was like, either Raizo's going to be completely fine and it's just going to be glossed over, and in the future, if we fight Green Bull again, because of this encounter, we're going to have a way to save anyone that gets hurt by him. You know what I mean? Or the flip of it is, Luffy is channeling his master Shanks' ability and he's like, if you die, you die. You know what I mean? Because, like, honestly, right?
I mean, the fact that he's just sitting there literally laughing and smiling.
Yeah, but no.
And then everyone's celebrating. That's the thing. Like, in this last panel, you can see, or one of the last panels, you can see Yamato, like, pumping a fist in the air, like, celebrating because what's his name ran away.
Yeah.
And then you can see, I think it's Denjiro leaning over there, but, like, none of them are really worried.
But that's the thing as well, where it's like, the last thing we saw Green Bull do before going is, if it wasn't for Shanks, he was about to one-shot Momo in front of everyone. No one was stepping in to do anything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, he might have one-shot Momo, or Momo would have shot another blast breath at him.
I don't know.
Blast breath's a beastly, man.
Yeah, but I was saying,
even Luffy with like full body Rio was still getting damaged by it.
Yeah, but like I was saying before, right? When he did the blast breath, right? He didn't do his like defensive guard. Momo was just like blast breath, and he's like, what? And just got sucker shot from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Momo follows it up with another one that he even says, like, you're trying to shoot the whole town away. What the hell's wrong with you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that was because he couldn't aim.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, where it was like, he just went for like, nah, I'm just getting rid of him, right? Where it's like, when he's immediately after that and he bulks back up and just like, oh, I'm just going to one-shot this kid. The way I saw that, I was like, he probably could do it. He was going to go clean in Momo's mouth and he was going to just, same thing that we saw Luffy do to Kaido.
I mean, like, I'm not going to say he couldn't, because he absolutely could. If he couldn't, then he's not worth his salt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But
I mean, that doesn't really give him much clout.
no, but it's
Like,
not.
even the Vice Admiral could.
It's not. It's not to give him clout because the entire like when he first showed up, did we not say this has to be handled with really quickly because Wano can't drag on?
Yeah.
So this literally just lived up to what we were saying the expectations were for the last 3 weeks. No, last 6 weeks.
Wait, what?
For the last 6 weeks, because we had the 3 month break and we had the other 2 chapters with him.
We figured it was gonna happen quick.
Yeah, we figured all it was going to do is he was going to show up, show his power. People were going to either flex against him and he was going to have to leave, or he was going to get an order and have to leave. Didn't we?
No, but what I thought was gonna happen was they were basically just gonna like build up the admirals heaps and make them seem ridiculous. Like I expected him to straight up lay waste everyone here
I mean, he did.
with no resist. Yeah, but he had resistance.
The resistance was no different to the resistance that Kaido or Big Mom got from these same people. He got the Yonko betrayal here. He handled the scabbards in 2 chapters, half a chapter each. Took Kaido 10 chapters to do this, and they landed a hell of a
Yeah,
lot more
but
hits
these
in on
were-
Kaido.
These were more scabbards and fully powered up scabbards. These are the ones here are injured.
We
There's less
subbed out.
number.
We subbed out the 2 dead scabbards for Shinobu and for Yamato, and we just didn't have Kinemon show up.
Yamato wasn't allowed to attack.
She wasn't allowed to attack only because of Momo, though. But the only time she got told not to attack, right, was when
And all she did was get one hit in,
yeah.
which, by the way, did damage.
I mean, it hit him, and he went, "Oh damn, Haki!" But there was no blood. There was no significant damage.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
Like he,
I think it's pretty like clear here that like he didn't show a super overwhelming. I mean, there's a reason. Like, there's a reason why. Obviously, like on the internet, everyone blows stuff out of proportion, and so like if someone gets punked on a little bit, they'll be like, "Oh my god, he got completely wrecked."
see,
Or kind of blow it up a little bit. But the fact that everyone's saying like, "Oh man, this was like a really bad showing," means that it was a really bad show.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was at all. I think literally what it was like I said at the beginning of the video, right? He showed up. He handled everyone he was meant to do. This was meant to just be an introduction thing to get the ball moving and to show, like, specifically, what this was a character full circle interaction with Momo, saying, "I have to defend my own homeland," which he did, but he didn't do any significant damage to Green Bull at all, right? And then
Look,
the next thing
is it's someone who's supposedly on the level of a Yonko, who, even though doesn't really care about the rules, he said, "I would never attack Kaido."
Yeah.
And then when he sensed Shanks, he ran away.
But that's the thing, right? And like, again, this is what I'm saying, right? The whole thing, this whole chapter, from start to finish, literally from the cover page, is promotional material for Film Red. This is a chapter specifically to sell tickets to the movie Film Red.
Yeah, but I mean,
And I'm not taking away Shanks' feats because they
still
like
sends the conqueror's arc and ran away.
if it's happened, it's happened, right? Like I haven't had the chance to say this yet. Like I actively have to turn around and I go, I owe you an apology here, right? Because finally it happened, and I've been saying this for ages, where I was like, we're getting so late in the story that if they don't show something else with Advanced Conquerors, I don't think we're going to get it, in which case Shanks is just the weakest Yonko based on default. But we finally get to see that Shanks gets to flex his Haki, and it's better than what we've seen of any of the other Yonko.
By the way, I think a really interesting thing is him taking out his sword to do it. We know that Griffin is a Black Blade,
No, we don't.
so I'm pretty. Wasn't it in the
Nope.
in the information things that came out during the 4-week break? They were naming all the Black Blades, and Griffin was one of them.
No, he's got one of the 12 Supreme... No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I didn't mean. I meant Black Blade as in one of the legendary crafted
I
ones.
can't
not as
remember.
in
I'll
his
have to
turn.
look it up, because I don't know if it actually is one of the 12.
It's one of.
I think it's one of the
them.
21.
Yeah, I know, but it's a good one, regardless. Okay, it's a good sword. He has a good sword.
Hang on.
So anyway,
I'll fact check
he has
this.
a good sword, and it's interesting to me that he takes it out and holds it, because I would think there's no reason to be holding your sword when you're projecting your Conqueror's Haki. So maybe there is some kind of effect with the blade similar to how Enma will pull out your haki,
So
where he can kind of like use it to sort of like at least point or something.
It-
His conquerors.
it is one of the 12 Supreme Brigades. And yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. Like, I think there is full possibility that Shanks' sword has something else with it. Actually, and let's run through this because I want to get to the Shanks thing because I know how a lot of people interpret it. I don't necessarily see the interpretation of the same thing. So we'll skip over the whole Pluton thing and we'll get straight to that second half.
You can have a difference of opinion, but I think you kind of have to admit that like there's a reason why people are saying it.
I see why people are saying it, right? But I think the way in which people have been
It's not a good look to have him run away from
Oh no, not at
an
all.
emperor after
But
saying that he would never fight another one.
but at the same time, right? If you read it start to finish with the 2 chapters before this, it has a very different context. Right? Because what like if you read from Greenbill's introduction to here, right? Obviously he's just going through doing his thing, right? And like here in this second half here, he's completely taken out all the scabbards in Momo until Momo does the borrow breath, right? Like he completely shut them all down, right? Then Momo gets his borrow breath in, and like I was saying before, if that flameproof forest is a defensive technique and not him just saying my whole wood's always flameproof, you know what I mean? If it's a defensive technique in the same light as the Ice Fang mirror, right? Momo essentially hits him with a sucker punch here. Greenbill's like, ugh, and then he just gets hit with a second sucker punch that just cuts him in half, right? And then immediately spawns back from it, and then you get the Shanks thing, right? Now, the first time I read this, how I interpreted this was Shanks... It felt like Shanks almost sniped Greenbill with Conqueror's Haki. Right?
Yeah, I think he was just kind of projecting it in the direction.
So, the way I interpreted it after rereading it, after like coming down from the hype, if you look at it, obviously you got Greenbill threatening to skewer Momo. You get the Conqueror's Haki blast, but you see, like, you can see the Conqueror's Haki everywhere through the air, above him. You see Greenbill, he's not getting like, oh god, the Conquerors. What it is like he sees the Conquerors and he's like, whoa, wait, that Conqueror's Haki, who the hell? And then he senses a Yonko level combatant and he's like, oh, the red hair pirates. And obviously he's got his hands up. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it looks a little bad. You know what I mean? He puts his hands up and then Shanks immediately starts talking to him while Lucky Ruse says you can't just go all out with your Haki like that. You know what I mean? So this was to me, right? A clear display.
He didn't even say all out, by the way. He just said use your Haki.
No, he says, boss, don't just go all out with your Haki.
The one that I'm reading is don't just use your Haki without warning.
Are you reading here? I'll send you the link because this is from the this is the one that's in the Discord.
Yeah, that's what I'm on.
Boss, don't just go all out with your Haki like that.
I don't know why we have different things, but
wait, hang on. What's a screenshot? Control print screen, is it?
I don't know.
Hang on.
I mean, to be honest, like all out doesn't have to be as hard as you can possibly go. It's just like reckless, essentially.
Hang on.
So, like, I mean, like the actual kanji could just be like, don't be reckless with your Haki or something like that.
Control V. Well, no, it's because specifically he's just knocked out all of his own crew, all the fodder.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we see him use. Here, I sent you the link. This is the version I'm reading. And chat, we'll get to all your messages in a minute. I know we've been ignoring the chat a little bit here. But, right, he says, boss, don't just go all out with your Haki. So, when I first read it, the way I saw it was like, oh, he sniped Greenbill. Greenbill got stun locked. And then Shanks and Greenbill are telepathically talking to each other. Shanks is calling him out on his bullshit, and is essentially just like, if you keep going, I'll come up there and I'll fight, which would put Greenbill in between.
that link that says, don't use your Haki without warning.
I will go get my phone and take a photo of what's on my screen right now just to send you, just to prove this. Hang on.
Not that it matters, but it's just interesting how...
Well, I mean, it obviously changes how we're both viewing this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Screenshots.
Just sends it to you on Messenger.
Okay. Hang on. Forgive me with this because this is going to be a hang on, where is it? It's on the left side here. This is a screenshot of my whole screen at the moment, so just forgive me on that. But if you zoom in there on the left side, where you can see it.
Yeah.
So you see how it says, boss, don't just go all out with your haki like that.
Very weird.
Well, I mean, we'll find out more tomorrow when the official comes out, see if it changes the wording in that, because we always do go back and do our fact check thing. But to me, right, like, because the first time I didn't pick up on the going all out thing. So the first time I read this, right, I thought Shanks concentrated his Conqueror's Haki, essentially sniped Greenbull when Greenbull was about to attack, right? Stun locking him for a second as if he got hit with, like, Conqueror's Haki, you know what I mean? Causing him to hesitate behind the burnt carcass of, like, the bigger version of him. And then just essentially calls him out and is just like, don't you fucking go start shit, because I'll come up there and I'll fight. And Greenbull's like, I don't want to fight you, or at least not today. You know what I mean? Specifically, like, he's like, I don't want to pick a fight with you, or you guys. Not today anyway, right? To me, it's like, Greenbull knows from his job he would have to fight them, but like, and we've talked about this many times, the red-haired pirates are the top dogs out of the pirates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, boy.
The average highest bounty. So to me, right, this was Greenbull like, oh, I can go take out some rookies and that took out some Yonko. Like, they're strong, but I'll handle them. I'll be stronger than any one of them, right? Then he gets called out by Shanks, and he's between an alliance that took down 2 Yonkos and their crew to his front, and immediately behind him, specifically saying, if you keep this going, I'll come up there and I'll fight too, specifically against you. Shanks and the strongest Yonko crew. You know what I mean? While with those 2 bits of information, so he's surrounded here against 3 of the biggest factions in the series, with the orders specifically, don't bite off more than you can chew. Now, obviously, his body language plays. Obviously, his body language plays in more here, and to me, I'm just like, okay, I feel comfortable putting him at the bottom of the admirals at the moment. You know what I mean? I mean, him going, I wouldn't have come here if Kaido was here. Whether or not you want to say that's narratively because he wouldn't be allowed to, or whether or not that's because of a personal choice. I mean, we had Kizaru out here literally being like, Kaido and Big Mom, you want me to go handle them? I can do that. So there is a different vibe. You know what I mean? Even though he's arrogant, he's at least not the most confident admiral. Let's just say that. But yeah, the way I sort of viewed this, which by the way, I just need to point out for a second, how crazy is it that he can spawn back from any of the seeds that he spawns?
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to chat about is, I reckon it'd be really curious if he took how the damage works. Yamato hit him and he went ow. Breath hit him and he said ow. But then when all of the vines and stuff were getting cut by the scabbards, he wasn't at all. So it's like, it's interesting if like, maybe if you hit his main body, you hurt him, but then you actually do damage, or does he just feel the sensation of pain?
Did he really scream when Momo hit him? Because he just kind of went, as if it was like, you know what I mean?
Like a big "ag."
Yeah, but like
2 exclamation points. That's big. That's all caps.
Yeah, but like reading the whole thing with him, it's like like he goes from the into the Whereas with Kaido was literally going
I mean, that NGGHH is somebody punching you in the stomach. Right? That's someone punches you in the stomach. You say that, but that's what comes out of your mouth before you collapse to the ground. Big thump in the stomach, and then the way to the ground.
Yeah, I guess. Because the way I didn't really... The way I saw this, it wasn't necessarily pain as it was just force. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, so that big panel when he's like arg, the bottom right below that, another with a close up of his face as he's like screaming.
Yeah, see, to me, the way I saw it, so it's sort of like Picker there. So his big body's been hit, right? And you see that sort of thing? That's like the shell of his body. Because by then, he's already gone down, starting to form the seed. So, like... Because, like, the way I saw it, right? Oh, okay, maybe not. Maybe that's a bit off. Because the way you look at it there, he gets shot, right? And you see that, but his whole body's fallen over and crumbled already. So the way I first read it was, that body got destroyed. He starts reforming, sort of like Picker. Momo hits him with the second one. It starts burning, and then he just spawns back from the seedling behind it.
Alright. I mean, I think he's making a lot of sound effects going on.
Because when he spawns...
Either he's in pain or he's moaning with pleasure. It's one of the two.
Because I mean, when he spawns back, there's like obviously zero injury on him, zero blood on him. He's just completely clean again. But maybe that's just a byproduct of the fruit. Like I said, maybe it's a healing factor thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. That's like, it would be like what's his name? Aokiji just reforming himself. If he was in like an all ice form, he would just look like ice, you know.
But what I will say is, specifically if he's not going against someone specifically that's, say, a big fire user, do you know what's really interesting? See how we see him come back from any seedling here. Just he comes back as a seedling.
Yeah.
His passive ability of just creating kilometers of forest around him just by walking. So, in a situation where he's fighting someone that doesn't have big area of effect attacks, he's invincible, essentially.
Say with the exception of Haki, which is, I think, is the problem with all Logias, is that once you get to the Admiral and above level, anyone that you're fighting, you can assume they have like advanced A form of Haki.
I don't even know if Haki would necessarily change this here.
I mean, Haki will like literally hit anyone. I mean, we literally saw Marco, who is a phoenix, take damage.
Yeah, but the thing is here, it looks like it's almost like a wood clone. You know what I mean? He's essentially, he can like best way to describe it. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. Because to me, with this, right, we see that body get destroyed. Yeah? But he just spawns back from a seedling that he had already implanted by walking past. So to me, it's, even if you hit him with Haki, right, you may hurt him, fine. But all you're doing is destroying that body, and he can spawn back from any of the greenery around him. You've got to destroy the greenery to destroy him permanently. That's how I say it. Which...
like, it's a possibility, but I don't think that's the case. Like, I think the whole point of Haki is, like, the reason why it's so good, the reason why, like, Roger was, like, such a beast is because it's just, like, that level, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like...
But, I mean, the thing is here, right? What I'm saying is, the reason why I don't think Haki necessarily changes that is because anyone in a top tier anyway already has massive area of effect attacks that are going to destroy all this forest anyway, aren't they?
I suppose, but I mean, he could just leave a seed like 2 kilometers away.
We'll see. Maybe there's a radius for it. Who knows? But to me, that's...
yeah, we're getting too complicated then.
To me, though, right? That might sort of be the problem with him, where he may be the weakest, but he's like kind of like Jack. You know what I mean? It's like, you can beat him, but can you kill him?
Yeah, I just don't think that's it. I mean, I think that there's got to be a way to, like, just kill him. Like, I mean, it's the same as all Logias, right? Like, Izuru gets hit and he just turns into light, and he flies away, and then he turns back into himself. And then, like, what's his name gets knocked into water, and then he just freezes the water, and then kind of comes out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I would say potentially, Aokiji could do the same thing, where, like, you destroy the ice, and then he just, like, one snowflake that's cracked off of his ice body turns back into him.
Yeah, potentially.
Then I think, like, if you destroy his body by punching it with Haki, you can hurt him.
I mean, I'd say potentially, the difference being, right, is I think it's like an activation thing. So like to me, like if you hit Greenbull with Haki, yeah, you're hurting him. I'm not denying that you're hurting him, right? But the difference is what I'm saying is at any point in time, seemingly he can abandon that injured body in favor for a fully health one.
I agree that it would be fully health in terms of like fighting capabilities.
He may lose stamina because his stamina is linked to his willpower.
Yeah, but
But
I
in-
think the damage that's been done has been done, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like similar to Luffy with Joy Boy, right? Like he's like literally always at max capacity when he's in Gear 5.
Yeah.
Because we saw him come out of it and he was like half dead, and then he went back into it. And now he's just like full health again. But he's still taking damage.
But the
If
thing,
you just keep smacking him, he's eventually gonna just like
yeah,
die.
yeah, no. So like I'm not saying that he can't take damage, right? But what I'm saying is like he can do the Naruto thing where he just it's like you're fighting him and you finally go to get a good hit in, and it's like it's my wood clone. Bye, bitch. I'm over here now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's possible. Yeah, for sure.
Which
And then like and I think he can probably fight him like after those Borobrats. I think when he reformed, he was still like in terms of like a physical fight as capable as he always was. He wasn't weakened.
well, I don't think he took any damage from it because once he's reformed, he no longer has any of the injury. That's the thing.
I just don't think the injury shows up, similar to Gear 5.
Well, see
I think he was still like hurt stamina wise.
to me, I don't think it did any stamina based damage because it didn't cost him any stamina. But what I would say was potentially the difference, right? Is if you say it stabbed him, like impaled him with Haki, right? And he reformed into another one, that new reformed body would have probably a stab wound in it, wouldn't it? Because you've damaged his soul in a way. Unless like I was saying before, he's got that healing factor where he can regrow it after.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I think he just like, so for example, like if you cut Akiji even like in half with Haki, he would like take damage, but then he would just kind of like reform it. Just how I see Logia. We're not like clean in half. I don't know. It's really hard. It's just, to be honest, it's whatever the fuck Oda wants.
I think it depends on the ability though. That's the thing. Not all Logias are made the same.
I think, yeah, that's the thing, is like a lot of this is kind of intentionally left quite open, so that like anything can sort of happen. The point, right? Like if you explain everything like to too much detail, then there's nothing to extrapolate, and then everyone knows who will beat who exactly with no arguments.
Yeah.
It's like,
but it's definitely interesting. Like to me, this whole showcasing, it wasn't negative to me for Green Bull, outside of maybe the Haki bit against Shanks. But instead of viewing it as a negative to Green Bull, I looked at that and I went, this is I look at this as more of positive in Shanks' pocket than a negative in Green Bull's. Because to me, we never saw Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard do this. You know what I mean?
I mean, obviously, yeah, Shanks' whole thing is a Congress Haki, right? It's like what makes up for his lack of a fruit.
Speaking of, under this, above the face of Shanks and under the silhouette of him using the Conquerors, right? On the far left there, so you see Luffy, you see Odin and Momo, and you see Hiyori and Toki. To the left of that right there, is that Uta and her hair bangs?
Yeah, I've heard some people saying that.
Kind of looks like it. Which, like I said, is just the whole reason it's in silhouette is it's a manga tie-in to say she's canon, but she's not really ever going to do anything.
Yeah.
Then obviously we jump to the section where we've got our, Straw Hats watching, and like I said, going back to the beginning of this second half here, right, where Green Bull's got them all on lockdown, right? There's no Raizo. No Raizo anywhere. And
yeah, Raizo's after we see Shanks. You can see him laying on the ground, and then Denjiro's like kind of cradling him in his arms. He's obviously taken out from that, right? Like, I'm not saying anyone's gonna just take that and keep fighting.
Is that Raizo, or is that just Is that Raizo?
Looks like Raizo.
Because to me, it just looks like Denjiro sitting cross-legged while Kawamatsu's sitting cross-legged too. They're both just sitting down.
I think it's Denjiro looking towards us, or looking down at Raizo, but he's facing towards us.
See, to me, he's just sat down cross-legged, looking across at Kawamatsu. I can see like the little hair bits. Maybe that is Raizo in his arms. He's got him on his lap.
Yeah, he's got him on his lap. Yeah.
Maybe, but even then, like I was saying, did Luffy just watch his friend die and was like, "Well said, well done"?
I mean, we'll see next week, but I don't think that would take somebody out.
It's on break next week, unfortunately, which works out well for me because
it didn't say break.
It was announced with the magazine break. I don't know if they've announced it here, but I'm pretty sure it's on break next week for the magazine, which works out well because I've got to work a weekend shift. All right. Now that we've got through the fighting part, we'll go through some of these chats and then we'll head over to the Pluton section. Yeah. Sage, good to see you in the chat, my dude. I know you missed the last few streams. If Zeus is a separate entity from Big Mom, then we can assume that she's dead. But if not, Big Mom's still alive. Maybe she ate Kaido's soul. Ooh, that'd be interesting. If Big Mom dies, does it shut down all of her island's defenses, or would it keep them alive? Because we also have that other giant in the new Giant Pirates that has a homie shield, by the looks of it.
I reckon the soul's a soul.
It'll be there until the soul runs out of its allotted time.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I hope Zeus is a separate entity. I also hope that the other homies are still alive and Nami's minions. Raizo's not dead, man. Crying face. I'm sorry. We'll see next week. Hopefully he's not, because I do love Raizo. Raizo is one of my favorite scabbards. Do you know what? Okay, that's
Big Mom again.
What was that?
How old is Big Mom again?
68.
So she can enhance her own lifespan, right?
No.
Taking other people's.
No.
Because wouldn't it be that if you use your own soul to create the other homies, wouldn't that mean that you essentially have, like, let's say you've created 3 homies, you have 3 homies plus yourself ticking away at your lifespan.
Yes.
So you're basically aging 4 times as fast.
Yes, but it depends on how much time she's allocated into those homies when she puts the soul in them in the first place. And she'd probably need to top them up.
If she only allocates like 2 years and then she keeps them around for 2 years, they would just die,
Yep.
right? After 2 years.
Yep, unless she tops them up.
So what I mean is, like, surely for the majority of her life, she actually hasn't had any soul weapons with her.
Well, we saw her back in the Rocks flashback. She didn't. She had like a homie bullets for her gun.
Yeah.
But she didn't have any of her normal homies.
Yeah, but to be fair, she was a lot younger.
Yeah. She was 40.
Not be able to do that yet.
She was 40.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think at that point in her life, she may have used her ability more sparingly.
Interesting, because, like, it's actually possible that the Big Mom that we saw was the strongest version of Big Mom.
I think it was.
Straight up.
Like,
by a pretty significant margin, because previously it was like Big Mom is Yonko level and basically just uses a normal ass sword.
I think Big Mom, I think Big Mom and Kaido right there when we saw them, that's the strongest they've ever been in their life. No question, right? And although Big Mom can't take people's souls and put it in other living people to expand their lifespan and stuff like that, we did see her get around this by using her lifespan to bring her body parts alive, separate to herself.
Yeah.
To heal herself. So, I mean, I don't think she can really take the lifespan of Kaido because you've got to be scared or potentially willing. But, I mean, maybe if she, I don't know. That'll probably come up more in the conversation in the Pluton when we talk more about the underground of Wano.
Actually, pretty crazy to think that, like, that was like Big Mom just at her absolute peak. I mean,
no, it wasn't though.
Like
okay,
said,
okay, hear me out here.
Sacrificed her own lifespan to make herself heal.
Hear me out here because this is going to be really
never
annoying.
Done that more than once before.
Hear me out here because this is really going to annoy me more than anything, right? This is the strongest Big Mom's ever been in her life. We did not see Big Mom fight all out.
Oh yeah, of course. She just got memed on the whole time.
It's not even that she got memed on. She just got beaten on TKO. Because, like, Law and Kid brought out the biggest attacks, and the best they did was break her arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mother Misery, 1,000 Leagues of Misery, right? is a fire lightning combo that's alive, that runs around, can bypass your defense, and is a living entity that attacks you. That was just her weapon. That wasn't even her. We saw her use her haki once. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get that she didn't fight, but the thing is that like, I feel like she still deserves that L because she just got out.
She did.
Couldn't hang.
Dude, do you know what that was? That right there. I've experienced this. No, fuck this. I'm getting passionate on this. Do you know what that is? When you ask your friend to play a game that they've never played before, and you start playing easy because you want them to have a good time and you don't want to just kick their ass and ruin their experience for it, and they start kicking your ass, and low-key, they get an easy dub in, and they're like, I'm pretty good at this game, I'm even better than you, and you're just thinking in the back of your mind, like, I'll up the difficulty, bitch, don't, I took it
easy. You get
easy.
Tilted, and then you try to, because you're tilted, you play worse.
Yeah, dude, that's what it was. Big Mum was there, Big Mum came in like LeBron James versing two high schoolers that are 5 foot. Right? And then he gets kicked in the shin, goes, my leg. And as the big man goes down, it's like, the other kid kicks him in the balls and he's like, passes out. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, technically you beat him up, but he would kick your ass any day of the week. No ifs, ands, or buts. You know what I mean? It's like, you win, but you didn't win. You can get...
There is no break next week, by the way.
Oh, there isn't?
I have double checked.
Oh, I've got to work next week. Hopefully I've got enough time in break to do a stream. We'll see. Hopefully. Anyway,
By the way, that panel, that full page panel of Shanks with that face saying, does the new age frighten you that much? That is like a screensaver.
Dude, that's hot.
Even the quote is good. You
Dude.
know what I mean? Does the new age frighten you that much?
Actually, I'm pretty sure...
Motivational quote right there.
Dude. This is the single best panel, I think, of Shanks.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a sick panel.
He's looking beastly here. He's looking beastly. Maybe it's like Crocodile where you also need water. In all honesty, I don't think Green Bull actually sucks the water necessarily out of people. If you're having a look up where Raizo is, and maybe I'm reaching here, I actually thought the funny thing is he's sucking out the nutrients. So he's like...
Wouldn't that be the same thing, considering you keep...
Yeah, also...
nutrients in your blood?
I think he's sucking out the blood, not necessarily the water. Because you see, like, the schlurk, but you see all the blood coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's, like, sucking up the...
I agree.
He's sucking up the blood to fertilize the plant. Right? So, I mean, maybe he just needs some water, but it depends. Maybe he's just been sucked out of all the blood in his body. Who knows?
I mean, like... Even if he has been sucked out, like, as long as he's not, like, dead now, he's, like, his body is, like, already breaking apart, they could just give him a blood transfusion and, all that stuff.
Yeah. Do you know what? That'd be a fair way to bring him back. If he's dead, blood transfusion, get his heart back going, you got Marco on standby, like, it's okay, buddy.
It'd be cool if, like, Law could shambles a part of Marco's Phoenix body onto someone else's body, and then the Phoenix heals them, then swap it back.
I mean, are we just gonna forget, like, Law didn't freaking save the Punk Hazard kids on a cellular level by removing all toxins in their blood?
Yeah, that is big true. He could definitely just, like, shamble some of someone else's blood into your body.
Like, dude, like... I don't know if I can say this on YouTube.
Like, Chopper's like prepping for the transfusion, and then Law's like, I got this.
How without Luffy, how does Law kill Dofi? Shambles a little bit of that HIV positive blood into him, and then gives him a really bad cold. Just like, let nature take its course there. Dofi's there, just like white blood. he's making white blood cells out of string, just like, fight for me, defend me. This time you need time and food though to gain back your energy. If Kaido died, I want a climactic to Oh, you want the climb attack to eat his devil fruit?
Oh, by the way, if you go all the way down to the bottom, you can see a colored version of that panel where you can see Raizo a bit more clearly.
Yeah. Again, like it could. I mean, in terms of the coloring, it's a fan coloring it no different to us. If he thought it's Raizo, he's going to color it right.
It's just
Raizo.
easier to make out
But
where the lines stop and stuff.
To me, I'm like, it doesn't matter either way. You know what I mean? If he is dead though, like low key, Luffy's a little ruthless there.
I feel like Raizo's too important of a character. Like that would be so mean.
Raizo's safe.
By the way, I just noticed.
Raizo's not
Shanks
safe.
Shanks has little palm trees on the back of his ship.
Yeah, which so when I saw the palm trees on the back of his ship, do you know what I was thinking in the back of my mind? Remember that island where he first saw Luffy's new, like, 30 mil bounty and he was on the island with all the palm trees?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Sentimental Shanks just, like, did the Nami and planted some on his ship. He's like, I just want to remember this now. Now I've got the Alahupa with me wherever I go. Yo, but, like, low-key, right? Shanks is roaming around here like Akainu. Having whole squad, pulling up on whole squads and them just bailing. You know, like when Akainu pulled up on Blackbeard and Blackbeard's like, we don't want the smoke, runs away. Bloody Shanks pulling up on Green Bull, I don't want the smoke, runs away. Alright, let's keep going through the chat here. Lauren Underground. Luffy is with Zoro and the others. What do you think Kid is up to? Partying, because he's not a big brain player. Or actually, do you know what? Do you know what Shane? Do you know what Kid's up to right now? Do you know what Kid's up to? Kid, no different to Luffy, just sent Shanks' haki, didn't he? So him and the boys are like, let's get on the boat. Red Hair's here. We've finally got our chance to take him down, and they're going to go bite off more than they can chew again.
Well, probably.
Man, like, even if he doesn't, get to him, man's going to be like, hoist the sails, we're going after him. And that's just how Kid's going to leave.
Also, by the way, I just noticed something.
Yep.
I was reading through, like, the comments on this thing. He does not have his sword out.
No, he's just holding the sword.
Yeah, he's just holding the hilt.
Yeah.
That's just like a wind. Oh, that's such badly placed streak of wind, though.
What wind are you talking about?
It looks like wind that's coming. It looks like it's coming off the end of his.
Oh, okay.
It looks like he's holding his sword and he's just pointing it.
Right, I never interpreted it like that. I didn't even notice the wind there like that.
I thought the whole time that he's just like holding his sword and pointing it towards Wano as his Conqueror's haki blasting towards it.
No, okay. I get what all right. That makes sense as to what you were saying before. All right, that's fair. If Orochi died, I want the Kuro Kabuto to eat his devil fruit. Dude, if Usopp's thing ate the Orochi fruit and could shoot 9 projectiles, that would be badass.
Yeah,
the Atlas Beetle shot would go way harder with 9 of them. He'd have like the Usherer Atlas Beetle. Yeah, Kid is probably gone to follow Shanks, which is yikes to be him. Yeah, 100%. Griffin is not a Blackbeard, none of the 12. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Like the stream. Yeah, like the stream. No break next chapter. Okay. No break is good though. If there is no, I don't know why. I thought it was a magazine break, but if there's no break, yeah, that's got me excited because it'll mean I don't have to. Oh, but next week's gonna suck because I'm working potentially, so I don't know how long the stream's gonna be next week, but it'll be what it is. Okay, let's go talk about the Pluton section. Yeah.
Yes.
So
to be honest, it's funny. We learnt a lot. Not much to talk about because it's all just kind of like, oh, I wonder what it is.
Well, there's some interesting things here. So we've got the poneglyph at the top of the entrance, and then we've got the secret entrance that goes down to the other one, right? I've seen a lot of people complaining about Jack underwater here. People being like, "What? Jack can swim?
Yeah.
That makes no sense." And to me, there's two explanations for this. Yeah.
Mhm.
Number one is I've seen people saying that, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but I've seen people saying that we've been told that rain doesn't affect devil fruits, right? Outside of crocodile specifically. And so because this is fresh water, Jack can swim in it, which I don't really buy.
Neither.
The second thing I view this as, which is what I actually see it as, is King and Queen just put this bitch on a hook and throw him in the water, and because he's a fish man, he can't drown. And they're like, is there anything down there?
Well, it could have just been that he didn't have his fruit, right? Why was that not the case?
We know he's had his fruit since he was 8.
But
Oh, I'm pretty
how
sure
old is
we've
he
known
now?
that. 28.
Okay, so he had it. He got it like right after they started, right after they got to Wano, right? Because at the start of Wano, wasn't he like a little kid?
Well, no, because he wasn't even part of the Beast Pirates back then, seemingly.
The real question is, do they just use him as an anchor?
Yeah, no, 100%. Dude, they call him the drag down for a reason. He's the
Well,
ship anchor.
So the problem that I have with that is that like they definitely could just to be like, but like I don't know why Kaido would be like, I want to investigate this ocean. Let's go through all this effort of like.
They might have
tying
been
him up and
looking for
throwing
the
him off.
weapon, to be honest.
Well, they might know the history partially from Kaido's days on the Rocks Pirates.
Yeah, but all of that explanations, or he didn't have his fruit yet, and as he's a fishman, and he's like, I want to go for a swim.
I don't know, I'm pretty sure he's had his fruit the whole time. Like, all his life.
Okay, but I mean, like, if it was 20 years ago, and like if he got his fruit 20 years ago, and he arrived in, and they arrived in Wano 20 years ago, I mean, it's possible, isn't it? It's not.
When did Jack get his fruit? Oh, sorry. It wasn't that he had his fruit 20 years ago. We don't know when he ate his fruit, but there were scenes of him in flashback and silhouette 20 years ago at the burning of Odin Castle.
In his fruit form or his normal form?
It just looks more like his normal form, but a bit bigger. It doesn't specify when he got his fruit, at least here.
I mean, hey, it could be anything. Who cares?
I
At the
mean,
end of the day, he found it.
we've seen him underwater heaps though. You know what I mean? To me,
Yeah, like I definitely think that even with his fruit, he could breathe underwater, and they could have just anchor throwed him over. I just don't know why. Like, I mean, yeah, like if he had previous information, then he might do it. I can't tell. Like, I couldn't see Kaido just being like, "Hey, out of sheer curiosity, we should explore the waters."
I mean,
under
low key, it could have been as simple as we got told at the beginning of Wano that Jack's been sunk many times around Wano.
Yeah, he got accidentally.
Yeah, so he may have just got sunk trying to go up the waterfall or some shit. And it's just like, oh, shit's down here. Please come get me out. And then, like, you know, he's just like, oh, there's stuff down there. Send me back down. We'll go suss out what's down there. Who knows? But we get to see old Wano underwater, which kind of ironic because we were talking about this in the Discord this week, weren't we?
I know, like literally the day before the chapter came out.
Was it the day before?
Or was the day before? Maybe it was 2
Close
days
to
before.
yeah. Well, either way, we've been talking about this week, so we're pretty well refreshed on this. Which Wano obviously was a lot bigger back in the day, but if you look at this compared to the scene where Big Mom and Kaido gets sent under Earth, yeah, Big Mom and Kaido are well under that level there. So they could either be down where the Pluton is, if the Pluton's not on this level, or they're just dead in the lava by...
I think they're dead.
I think it's safe to say they're dead. That being said, though, right? How do you think this island survived here? Did they just like keep growing up and just building up and shrinking their landmass?
Yeah, that's what I thought was weird because it's like they're only showing that there's buildings at the bottom and at the top, and if that was the case, and it was rainwater slowly filling it up, it would take like a year to fill up that much at least.
Oh, it'd be more than a year.
It'd be more than a year, but I mean, if you're thinking like, oh, anime logic, let's just say it doesn't take 100 years, you know. Like, you know, even if you're being like very ambitious, you at least got to give it a year.
Dude, I was looking at this and I was thinking more like 500 years, 300 years.
Yeah.
Like 800 years ago, because like I was saying before, in the Wanted...
They did specifically use the word settlers, though. Like, they said, like, they resettled on higher levels.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
the land further up mountain was established for settlers.
how this could work, right, is Wano immigrated and sunk themselves, and then they came back later and resettled. Because remember, Toki was born from Wano. Well, Toki's family was from Wano in the Void Century, but she herself had never been to Wano.
Yeah, right.
So, all the Wano Knights, or Wanoians, right? Obi-Wan no Kenobis.
The Obi-Wans.
Flee Wano at the end of the Void Century, having like stored the ancient weapon there, creating the barriers and letting the island just fill up, and then come back a couple hundred years later, re-establishing a settlement that slowly shrinks time by time. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. Because, like, so looking at see how the Wano's underwater, right?
Mm.
Are those the koi?
What do you mean by those, the koi?
Well, the koi we see in Wano are bigger than the Sunny.
Fish. Yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
50 meters long. So,
oh, right.
So if these are the normal koi we've been seeing, these koi here, right? Like, these buildings are for giants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like they would have commented on that, right?
It's... Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Oh, like, literally, they might be about to comment on it in a minute or so, you know what I mean?
To be honest, though, obviously they're not, like, as big as the ones that we saw before, but they are pretty friggin' big.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, 2 koi were the size of the Sunny. Either side, dragging the Sunny up the waterfall. If these are the same koi, it's kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Or it's like Oda's messed up his depth perception again, and they're not that big. But you see one down the bottom.
Maybe the babies stay at the bottom and the adults go to the top.
Yeah, maybe. But this also brings up, like, because we were talking before about the Wanted book, whether or not it was canon or not, what parts of it to take as canon or not, since Oda's tied in the whole slaying the dragon thing, saying that was just one of the legends about Ryuma. Yukimaru reestablishes that whole storyline pretty much happened. You know what I mean? One of the things in that version that always interested me was that there was a vast desert in Wano at some point, if that is canon.
Yeah.
So maybe... Because when we see it now, there is no desert landscape, but we have a snow, a spring, a forest, a sort of more of a wasteland. We've got a volcanic region. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be very, very interesting to see whether or not that whatchamacallit, there was a bigger desert there when it was a bigger region. We know that was around roughly 500 years ago, right? So maybe that's when they resettled and there was still a larger landmass and it's shrunk time by time. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Something else to note is the way we see this here, right? Huge mountain. Was Onigashima still up there when this was a thing?
Yeah, right, like the skull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it very well could have been that, how did they make the walls in the first place? They could have had, like, and I'm just going to dub it Oars Senior. Yeah, right? They could have had Oars Senior, which was that giant monster, create the barrier for Wano.
Yep.
Because how else without, say, Picker's Fruit are you going to be able to create something to protect your entire island overnight?
Yeah. By the way, he's a dumb man when I read these chapters. I completely missed them talking about the rainwater filling up the water.
Oh, all right.
And I just saw Robin saying, "Oh, that's fresh water," and I'm thinking, "Wow, if it's fresh water, it mustn't have come from the ocean. Whoa, what if Im has like a water fruit?" And I was going on all this big
So,
tangent of like, and
that's
then I completely just missed it. Said
that's
rainwater.
what some of the fans are saying before. Because in one of the SPSs, they said that that rain doesn't affect devil fruit users. So maybe Jack can swim in the fresh water, but he can't swim in the sea water.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. You know what I mean?
I was like, wow, somebody must have filled it up with water using some kind of water fruit.
The other thing is, right, so we see like another thing where they say if you go down a bit further, you'd find the Pluton, right?
Yep.
And we see that this is the old Wano with our current location. That big ass hole there, is that just where the Pluton is?
Hang on. Which big ass hole are we talking about?
So under the road poneglyph.
That I would assume would be like the entry, right, to the Mount Fuji.
Well, yes, but if you look on the left, see how it's that entry point there?
Yeah.
Their current location's on the dry land where there's an oxygen bubble just above that.
Yep.
They said if you go down just a little bit further, that's where the Pluton is. So a little bit further down is that tunnel.
It's literally just below just off that ledge.
So I dare say that tunnel is where the Pluton is right now.
I mean, potentially, yeah.
Which would be interesting.
Although one thing to note is if Jack got thrown off the side of Wano,
he wouldn't have seen
landed in the water. He would have had to go into that hole in order to find Road Poneglyph, right?
Ooh, good point. Because they didn't know about the pathway, did they?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's an excellent point. Wait, no, what? Bullshit. If that's the case, why don't they just walk up the stairs?
What do you mean?
Well, if Jack got down there and found the road poneglyph,
yeah,
and we know that there's
he would have
stairs,
noticed the staircase.
why didn't you just walk up the top of the stairs and just break a hole at the top of the stairs and be like, where am I?
Yeah, true.
Ugh. That's a fumble. That's a fumble. Then again, it is Jack the drag down. The man looks like he's deep in thought, even when he's not. But okay, so the Pluton could be in there or could not be in there, depending. If it's not in there though, like where the hell's the Pluton?
I think the first question is what is the Pluton, because where
Battleship.
it's stored would be determined by what it is.
I think it's a battleship, and that's why there's water here. You'll sail it out.
But isn't the whole point that releasing Pluton is destroying the walls, which means you're basically
Removing the water.
removing the
So
water.
all
So
I
now it's just trapped on land.
yeah. So I think it's just a boat that's been trapped on land and then submerged.
Right, but what I'm saying is if you took out the walls, all the water would go away, and then you would have no way to sail Pluton off the
I think
island.
I think Pluton would just sail off with the water coming off.
Like it would just naturally spill out.
Yeah.
With the water.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Like looking at that,
And I'd say it's probably in a pretty obvious spot then, because it'd have to have enough access to just like go with the water.
which is that big ass cavity. You know what I mean? Like it's it's a big ass hole in a mountain in the center of town, facing a wall. Knock out the wall, the water comes out, and it just slips out. Most likely. Which, mind you, right? To free Wano, think about how messed up it... Like, their whole country's going to have to immigrate down this stairway.
Yep.
They're going to have no greenery for a long time unless they manage to get Greenville back down below.
Actually, yeah, they would have to literally have the current Wano and just turn it into a giant farm. And then they would have farmers like walk up the stairs, do the farming, and then they'd have some kind of pulley system to get it all the fruit and veg down to the bottom level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd build like a lift, like an old-fashioned pulley lift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mind you, like, do you know how
Pretty
panicky
cool.
I was reading this chapter, seeing them down here and going, dude, didn't we also just see that, like, there were fissures all in this area with magma?
Wait, what?
Well, if you go back a couple of chapters, when Kaido and Big Mom were submerged down, right? Remember all the fissures of magma to the right? Like, hang on.
Fissures of magma?
Hang on. I'll get this up. The fissures.
Fissures. Okay.
Because there was so much magma down there. Hang on.
Yeah. And that was like below, right?
No, it was next to where they are right now.
Actually, weird thought. This is probably not true, but it's cool to think about. What if Pluton is literally just Mount Fuji itself? You literally just erupt the volcano. It just like destroys everything. It just goes off like a new, because it is such a giant volcano that it would just cover like half the new world.
Oh.
That'd be like a cataclysmic event, like a world-destroying event.
Alright, you still there?
Oh, yeah.
Have a look at this chapter here. Right, just sent you the link. I'll put this over here for, so that people can somewhat see it. So you got all. So if you go down, just past the cover page is on the first page was Kaido's getting sent down, right?
Go down how far?
First page after the cover page.
Oh shoot. Go back up. Yes.
All the cracks in that magma pool.
What do you mean?
So, like, you see Kaido how he's been sent down, right?
Yeah.
And you see all the fissures, all the cracks of the magma pools coming up.
I mean, I thought that was just like him breaking down.
No. The diagram.
Okay. Yes, those cracks. Yes,
Those cracks.
yes.
And if you look at this chapter, right?
Mhm.
All off the side of this area here is
Yeah,
where those
true.
cracks are. Right?
Yeah.
So we already had an eruption up top, right next to where they are here. I'm still, like, when I was reading this chapter, I saw them down here, and I was like, are we about to have, like, a Law's got to save everyone by rooming everyone back up the top because all down here is about to get flooded with magma?
Yeah, that's true. That is big true.
Because, like, I mean, that stuff hasn't been paid off yet. You know what I mean?
And what would happen if, like, broke the earth between a magma pool and then the ocean?
It turns into solid landmass.
Yeah, like obsidian.
Yeah.
In Minecraft terms.
It turns into Akainu when he gets cooled down a little. But yeah, no, that's the thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, I know we may be about to leave Wano, but we may get the borders for Wano may open without our consent. That's what I should say there. Because if that
They could have
erupts,
pulled some crazy stuff where like Big Mom like knew she was gonna die and then just like erupted all the remainder of her soul just to everything around her.
I mean,
and created like a giant lava monster with her entire soul in it.
I mean, there's nothing to say that she didn't do that, and that's what like maybe it's protecting her. You know what I mean? Who knows? Okay. Chapter 1056, what Pluton is. That'd be interesting, but I reckon next chapter, being 1056, it has to be the Straw Hat bounties. Does it not?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Like, I've been saying that for the longest now. Go Moo. It's got to be, like, the pat on the back for all the Straw Hats, doesn't it?
Hell yeah, and I reckon it's gonna be big.
I reckon next chapter is probably going to be the biggest chapter we've gotten in the last. Honestly, next chapter may be
Just
the
to put
biggest
in your
chapter.
mind, man, Jimbei is the weakest out of those 5 top Straw Hats.
Yeah.
Jimbei is a beast. Like, you got Jimbei, Sanji, Zoro, Yamato, Luffy.
Yeah.
They are now like Shanks' crew, right? Like,
Above.
that's straight up Shanks' crew.
All right.
Or above.
I reckon honestly above at this point with that lineup.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be tough. It'll be a tough fight. But it's like, dude, they got some shit to do. I reckon
Yeah.
next chapter's.
Now, here's a question that I have for you. So, right now, Luffy's haki is probably better than everyone in the series except for Shanks. Maybe Garp. I mean, maybe even if he didn't have it, like he might not have it now, but he at least has had better haki in the past.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, my question for you is, how does Luffy get to the next step? Does he not get any stronger until he like fights Shanks for the One Piece
I
on
think
Laugh Tale?
I think the easiest answer is this very simple answer.
Hmm?
He only did 2 named attacks in Gear 5.
So you think he just gets better with Gear 5?
I think his Gear 5 has more haki.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd agree he can definitely get stronger. What I'm more meaning is every time we've seen him advance his haki,
Mhm.
he's been in some way kind of taught or shown that next level of haki before he's unlocked it.
Yep.
So far, he hasn't just gone, I'm going to do this more and then done it. So, like, how do you see his haki getting any better in the future if there's not really anyone except for Shanks above him to actually teach him anything better?
I think this is hard, right? It depends on whether or not you think that what we saw from Shanks was a new technique or a variation of a technique we've already seen. Right?
I don't necessarily know if Shanks has like some crazy new technique, but I just think he has generally better
Because
haki, and maybe he has a few techniques.
I was seeing people say
Maybe it's
because
just a
of the
different
Black
way of how to
Lightning,
use it.
I saw people saying that was the advanced armament that he was projecting, like the advanced conquerors that he was projecting like a weapon.
Right.
Right? And I was like, whew, that's a little crazy if you can, telekinetically hit someone with advanced conquerors from like kilometers away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, right. I think Luffy's going to start incorporating Luffy's going to start incorporating haki and start naming attacks and coming up with good attacks in Gear 5, which will be a lot more serious and a lot better than what we've seen so far. The thing is, I think from this point out, a lot of Luffy's new attacks are going to involve all aspects of his ability, not just one of them. If that makes sense.
Right.
So, to me, the whole thing with Luffy and his haki, I think his haki, he may struggle a little, like, his Shanks may have a little bit stronger haki, who knows? I want to say yes at this point in time, especially since this chapter, and then you had the whole Kaido hyping up Shanks' haki. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still don't know if Shanks is the strongest haki user in the series, unfortunately.
Would you put above?
I can see arguments for Imu. I would probably put Shanks in haki above Akainu, but I can see arguments for Akainu. I can see arguments, especially even from Oda's own mouth, for Mihawk. Like, there's problems there. You know what I mean?
I give you Imu.
I see. Like, I know you ride that Shanks wave out, right? But I mean, we've been told repeatedly, Mihawk's waiting for someone to surpass Shanks to fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because Shanks has maybe marginally better haki, maybe, right?
Oh, but I mean, Mihawk is a better swordsman, and he has a better sword.
Yeah. Well, they have the same level sword.
Yeah, but he literally says this is the world's strongest blade.
Yeah, but he says it's the strongest because he made it the strongest. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so it's the strongest.
Yeah.
It's the same like tier, but I mean he's blackened it to a better extent.
But in that situation, then is that meaning that he's blackened it where Shanks hasn't because Mihawk's better at haki than Shanks?
It's not about haki though, right? It's about the will of the sword.
Well, we don't know. That's the thing. I've theorized that it might be.
Everything's been hinted at that like there's the will of the blade, and then you have to like follow the will of the blade kind of thing, and the blade chooses you and shit like that. It seems like Shanks is kind of like, I don't give a shit. You're here to serve me, homie. And then meanwhile, Mihawk is like, I study the blade. Yes.
Maybe. I don't disagree with that at all, but it's open ended. You know what I mean? Like from here on out, it's like enough stuff's open ended that it's sort of just like I just need to see like 3 key examples of different things, and then be like, okay, I've got a solid idea on how this works now. You know what I mean? Because it's like even in this chapter here with Shanks, like the translation you was reading very different to mine. Mine was saying Shanks was going all out when he did that haki to Green Bull, right? For all we know, that was just regular Conqueror's haki, but he was going all out, targeting it on one individual as like a stun effect to be like, oi, I'm here, piss off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know because I mean, the thing is that we've seen his haki literally break ships before when he's not going all out. He's just not suppressing it.
But
and in this case,
we've seen that from Katakuri and Luffy too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that right now he's not breaking anything, just making his crew members pass out.
Yeah. So
it's controlled at least.
It's targeted.
Yeah.
And it's a damn good flex. Now are you talking about haki? Will Buggy have conquerors? Buggy could potentially have conquerors. If
it's hard because
I would buy that Buggy has conquerors before he has armament and observation.
The problem is, part of me thinks that he's still going to be written as that character who is like accidentally falling upwards, and he just doesn't want it. Like everyone's putting all their hopes in him, and he's just like, oh yeah, okay, go do this, like just trying to fake it till he makes it. And I don't know if that's like a conqueror kind of mentality.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. I was having this conversation with Glitter off stream, about like if Naruto characters like you know the whole like if you did verse equalization, how would it like divvy up? And I was like, I've been seeing people that have been like, oh yeah, if you do a verse equalization, all the One Piece characters get one shot by Genjutsu, but all the Naruto characters unlock Conqueror's Haki. And I'm like, I don't think you understand Conqueror's Haki enough to say that a lot of Naruto characters would have it. Because even the characters in One Piece that seem like they should have it don't necessarily have it. Like, it's rare still. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, we had this whole conversation and that, and I was like, the only people I'd probably really give it to is Hashirama, Naruto, Minato, Orochimaru, Pain, and I can see an argument for Obito or Madara, although low-key, I don't actually think they would have it, because...
Probably Sasuke.
No. See, the reason why I don't think Sasuke, Obito, or Madara would have it, right, is because one of the big things about Conquerors is even if you don't want it, people follow you. People want to invest in you. You know what I mean? They don't really have those traits. They tend to lead out of fear or necessity.
I mean, Sakura, though.
Yeah, but Sakura only wanted him because he was hot. The rest of the village ended up abandoning Sasuke. He didn't get that vibe. Even Kara.
Conqueror of fitness. He's the conqueror of edgy emo kids.
No, but do you know who was the conqueror of edgy emo kids? Orochimaru. Orochimaru inspired all the people that ended up following to... Like, Sasuke is like Orochimaru's first mate that doesn't have conquerors, and after Orochimaru goes down, they're like, I guess we'll follow him. And then when he starts being too edgy, they're like, yeah, we're bailing.
I mean, I think it says a lot that Sasuke can like literally try to like destroy the Leaf Village and then still be forgiven and respected.
That's only because of his boyfriend Naruto, though.
I would go to war with anybody that thinks that Sasuke would have Conqueror's Haki.
Damn.
I would. I'd go to war because there's nothing inspirational about him at all. In fact, he fed off a feigned sense of popularity. He was no better than a pop star, and that's not true inspiration when you compare it to what Naruto and Luffy do to people. It's not even on the same level. They fangirled over him no different than they did Sai. He was a fad.
Oh.
And don't get me wrong, I say that with love. Like, I love Sasuke's character, but if you are analyzing it from the perspective of inspiration and outcome, he did nothing.
I
He still does nothing. Like if you examine him in Boruto, he's literally called the Shadow Hokage. He stays out of the way. He didn't raise Sakura. He's not there for Sakura.
people
Like
don't rate him.
he backs out so much because he internalizes that he's not
See-
worthy either. And that doesn't make a conqueror either. They have to be sure of themselves. And Sasuke doesn't even like himself.
Another
He doesn't
person,
think he's worthy.
another
So, no.
person that I thought would
No.
have had conquerors that I haven't really mentioned is A. Just because his whole village is like, yeah, A, he's a beast. We love him. We rate that
I
guy.
don't know who that is.
The B's brother, the Raikage.
Oh, okay.
Because everyone in his village was like, yeah, go this guy. He's a G. He's a champ. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like outside of those people that are listed, there's not really anyone in Naruto that actually has people that actively want to follow them. It's always, I guess we'll follow you, but if I get the chance to be the leader, I'll screw you over and I'll become leader.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you could argue that every Hokage or every Kage is essentially Yonko in a sense because they have an entire city, a village that like look up to them, and then even all of like the provinces around them that aren't ninja villages will look up to the Hokage of the local.
But most of the
ninja
time they don't. That's one of the problems. Where most of the
in
time...
Boruto they don't, but in Naruto
No,
they do.
no, in Naruto, actively, like, Hokages were despised. That's why there were so many coups. That's why the Hidden Leaf was so well off, because all the other villages were always in a constant state of instability because of infighting and fighting with their, like, neighbors and stuff like that. And they just didn't have that same sort of, like, hype behind them.
I don't remember that ever being shown. To be fair, the world was not built at all.
To be fair, a lot of this also comes from novels and stuff like that as well. And stuff in Boruto as well. That goes flashing back before. You know what I mean?
See, Boruto actually like puts a bit of effort into like build the world, which I think is nice.
Yeah. I mean, they made the Blood Mist Village Hawaii.
That's actually what I was saying to someone the other day is like One Piece couldn't really have a decent sequel series because they've done so much world building, and by the end of One Piece, right, we'll know what the Void Century is and we'll know all about that stuff. So if they made another series where it was like Luffy's kid or Shanks' kid or something becoming a pirate or whatever, it's like you already know the entire history of the whole show. So it wouldn't be it'd still be good. It'd just be like a fun adventure.
No,
It wouldn't be anywhere close to One Piece.
I think they could do a really successful one if there's a giant time skip of, say, 40 years at the end of the series, right?
40 years only?
Yeah. Because that way...
Because I think the big thing about this is, like, it's the intrigue of, like, we don't know much about the world
Oh,
government,
yeah.
but they seem kind of corrupt, and there's this revolutionary, we don't know what's with
But that's...
Like, there's so much to this series.
That's
it's
why
insane.
40 years would be the
You will
perfect
always
time
be-
span. Because it's long enough that people like Luffy could be gone from the world, but you still have some of the people that were alive at that time period that you know of, but if they've changed drastically, or their situations changed drastically, you'd get that same level of intrigue back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's just like the world wouldn't be as good.
I mean, we've only gone to a couple of
There's not a
islands.
mystery.
There's still a heap of other islands. There's still a heap of other mystery. I mean, we've got Captain John's treasure.
Yeah. I think the big thing is like the reason why everyone says that One Piece has such great world building is because of all of the
Effort
the
being
world
put into it.
government and the celestial dragons and all of this crazy like stuff in the background, what makes a devil fruit and all the different types of haki. And once you've already revealed all of that, you know, like these are questions that we've been sitting on for like 10 years, and people are still like really curious about it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, dude,
It
it's
would be
been
very hard to create that in the same world.
it's been 20 years now, and only now Pluton's sort of coming back into it. Sage asked about Jiraiya. Would Jiraiya have conquerors? I don't think Jiraiya would have conquerors. I've got to preface this by saying Jiraiya was my favorite character at that point in the story. Jiraiya doesn't want to lead, so I could understand people saying maybe he has it, but he doesn't like actively work on it. But the thing is, a lot
You're
of people.
talking about those trios. Out of that trio, only Orochimaru had it. Out of the next trio, only Naruto has it. I feel like
Minato.
only one.
Orochimaru,
Minato as
Minato,
well.
and then, like, no offense to Kakashi, I wouldn't see Kakashi having it.
No, Kakashi doesn't. wouldn't have it. The only outside like main character potentially is I would argue for Pain. Pain inspired quite a few people circulating around him with his ideologies. But apart from that, I don't even think Itachi would have had it, to be honest.
No, God no.
Mate,
People hate
No.
him. If people hate you, like if people meet you and a majority of people still hate you, there's no way you would have conquerors. You know what I mean?
Here's the weird thing: it's possible that Conquerors is kind of like embedded into like the One Piece world as like almost like an aspect of fate.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, because like I mean, people like Luffy have that power of just attracting people near them, and it seems like other people with Conquerors seem to have like a similar kind of ability. So like it's entirely possible that like no one in the Naruto verse would be able to have it because they just don't. They weren't born that like this just doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
Well, no,
It's weird.
that's a thing where I'm like, so
It's like if you can't train someone, can you train someone to develop? Like if you were to have a kid, and let's say you have no conquerors in your entire family line, but you just kind of know a lot about it, and you had a kid, and you wanted to like raise them as like a stalwart leader type person to try to
well,
have them develop conquerors over their life. Would you be able to do that?
we
Would
don't
you be able to like create a personality that person will get conquerors?
we
Or
don't
is it
know
just like
if
kind of
con-
fated destiny?
we still don't know if conquerors is something that you have to be born with or if you can attain it. Because if it's something you have to be born with, what if there's only certain bloodlines that even had it in the first place?
Yeah, because even if it's not necessarily like bloodline genetics kind of thing, it could be kind of like a fated thing where it's like,
Is it the
if you're
personality or is
if
it the
you
body?
have it, it's if you have it, it's because you're fated to have it, and then if you have a kid, it's because you're fated to have that kid, which means that kid is also fated to do something, which means they have it, kind of thing.
A person who would have conquerors, Danzo, the rain guy, probably. Okay, I could see an argument for Hanzo, but the reason Danzo wouldn't have it is because even though Danzo has a whole organization under him, Danzo's more like Don Krieg. He leads out of fear, and his entire life, he's feared not being able to be the leader and constantly lost out to other people. He lost out to the third Hokage when he wanted to become the third Hokage. He didn't get it, right? When he thought he was too old, he gave up that idea and started trying to back Orochimaru to be Hokage. Orochimaru fell through, and then it was only after we lost another two Kage that he even got considered for it, just out of there's no one else in the village that's possible, and he's the only one that threw his hand up while everyone else was unable to ascertain it. Danzo wouldn't have conquerors because Danzo is more Machiavellian. He's more someone that's like, I'm in the background. I don't necessarily have the skill, but I'll do what it takes to try and make up for the fact that I don't have the skill.
Just see it as a Rochi, basically, right?
Yeah, kind of. You know, like he's no slouch, but he's no conqueror.
So we can tell people what to do.
I mean,
but like he's got a good fruit, so he's strong in the same way that like the other dude's strong.
The people
he's
in
not like that good.
The people in the Ambu and the Root only freaking deal with him because he kidnaps them as baby. He gets orphans essentially, and then he puts a curse on them that if they freaking turn against him, they just drop dead.
Like he literally Spartans them.
Yeah, dude, they're Master Chief. They get the Dr. Halsey treatment from him.
Yeah.
Like if you run, you die. You know what I mean? Like even in the extended lore and that, the only reason Kakashi's still alive at one point is because Itachi threatens to tell Danzo that he'll spill the beans on the whole thing if he touches Sasuke or Kakashi.
Mm-hmm.
So like Danzo's a bit of a ust. He's a bit of an old grumpy dude. Mihawk have conquerors? I reckon Mihawk has conquerors. Ugh, do I?
The problem with it is that it's really hard to tell because it could be that like if you turn your blade black, it's like essentially the same as Conqueror's, and then he doesn't need it, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hear me out on this, right?
The other thing is, does Garp have it? Because Garp had like some of the best armor haki that we've ever seen in the series, but as far as we know, you kind of need Conquerors to have that. But as far as we know, Garp doesn't have Conquerors.
Garp has it, and I'll tell you why. I feel more confident on saying Garp has it than I do Mihawk has it, because you've got Garp saying he inherited it too, implying Dragon had it, but it was also implying that Dragon inherited it from him. We have Garp having fought Roger and Whitebeard multiple times, and we have the fact that there are people that actively look up to Garp and want to support Garp. He even had people like our Kiji kissing his ass, going, "Oh my god, Garp-san, you're so cool and you're so awesome. Gonna be a part of your squad." You know what I mean? He's got the.
Why wouldn't you? Garp's the man.
He's got the trinity of betrayal. The only thing he doesn't have is the confirmation. But his equal in Sengoku is the only Marine confirmed to have it, right? But just because he's the only doesn't mean he's the only Marine that will have it. You know what I mean? It's just like, that was the only person that Oda was like, we're never going to see it, so I'm just going to throw this out here now. It's never going to be important to the narrative. You know what I mean?
What's that dude that, like, Akihina gives you a pat in the back and you're like, thank you, sir. Garp gives you a pat in the back and you feel it in your soul. You're like, yes.
Oh, dude. Garp wouldn't give you a pat on the back. Do you know what Garp would do? You'd be 50 years young, and he'd come up and he'd tussle your hair, and he'd be like, "You did good, champ." And you'd start grabbing your Marine cap and fold it up and going, "Oh yes, sir. Oh, thank you."
You'd have like some thanks, Dad.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I reckon Garp's got it. Mihawk could have it. The only problem is Mihawk doesn't have anyone that really looks up to him. He hasn't inspired anyone. Except...
He inspired Zoro.
Except, right?
Every swordsman ever.
Yes. Every swordsman is inspired by him to kill him, though. It's the opposite we've seen of every other conqueror. That's the only reason why I'm like, there's a potential exception there. But it's like, ugh. You know what I mean? Because Mihawk hasn't got allies. Mihawk doesn't have people that look up to him in a positive light. Mihawk's got people that see him as a challenge. You know what I mean? He doesn't have subordinates. He doesn't have people that are like, "Oh, I'll help you out, man."
By the way, I wanted to say as well, I'd love to see like Kid talking about, let's say like Luffy becomes Pirate King and they're like organizing like a war, and they're like, "Oh, which countries are going to be on our side?" Luffy's like, "Oh, I saved these guys and these guys," and then Kid just goes, "Oh, I could probably get these guys and these guys like from the route that he took to get to the New World." And then Luffy's like, "Wait, you saved countries?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, like, there was a bunch of pirates there, and when I told them, and they were kind of controlling the country, and when I told them that I wanted to be Pirate King, they laughed at me, so I killed them all."
Dude.
And then these guys just started claiming I'm a hero. It was really annoying.
Okay, two things, right? What if...
It's like, Kid essentially did exactly what Luffy did.
What if Kid's got his own Barto, but he's like the polar opposite of Barto?
Yeah.
So, like, you know how Barto's like a ruthless criminal that's like, "Oh, but Luffy Senpai's so cool and nice." What if he's got like someone that's like heaps like pacifist and like, "Oh, I don't like blood or violence," but he's like so ride or die kid that it's like someone badmouth kid's like, "I'll kill you." Also, dude, you know how we were saying before, what is Kid doing right now? If I was Kid, do you know what I'd be doing? I just saw the bounty. I just saw that shit happen, right? I'm like, 3 billion and I'm still not a Yonko. Right now, what I would have been doing is I would have made my big metal fist and I would have grabbed that one short-ass old man and I would have just dragged him to the edge of the city and I went, "I saw that shit on the roof. I know there's more Haki. I know he learned that shit from you. Spill. We're doing this now. What are we doing? How do I do it?" He's like, "Oh, it's not that simple. Luffy was just sort of I don't give a shit. Show me. Shut up and show me." You know what I mean? As if he's not up there right now, just like, "Rio ha! Kamehame Rio!" You know what I mean? Like, dude, he knows there's a new level of Haki. He knows people here know it. He knows he needs it. Get off your ass and do shit. You know what I mean?
He's that kind of dude where like he could force that dude to teach him, and Kid himself would be training for like 3 days straight. The other dude would be like dozing off, and he's like, "Please let me sleep."
Yeah.
I haven't slept
No,
for
but
3 days. And he's like, "I'm here training for 3 days straight." You
dude,
hard enough.
but it's the opposite of Luffy, and I would almost want to see that because it'd be so funny, but it would make so much sense to his character because it's the exact same as Luffy, but the opposite. You know what I mean? Where Luffy's just like, you know, I gotta eat, gotta sleep, gotta take it easy, but we do have to train. Kid's just like, train non-stop. I won't eat or I won't break until we get this sorted. Like Hyogoro's like dozing on. He just slaps him. He's like, "Oi, am I doing this right or what?" Okay. Kid's exactly like Shiki. Is Kid exactly like Shiki?
He's very similar. I mean, even down to his fruit.
I tell you what. I don't want to say kid's exactly like Shiki, but out of the moment, he is the Shiki, I guess. The worst part about that is, it's like, I know this might sound bad. I expect more from kid, or I want more from kid. But where we are at the moment,
he's already disappointed me too much.
Dude,
this was his chance.
where we are at the moment, Shiki would probably... Shiki's gold. Literally the gold line. Like, people sleep on Shiki.
Slap kid, for sure.
Low-key, Shiki would have an interesting... Like, people are going to hate me for this. Shiki would have an interesting fight against any Yonko or Admiral. Because...
Yeah, Shiki would have an interesting fight against Luffy right now.
Dude, like, it doesn't matter if people are, like, way stronger than him. The dude just picks up and, like... I don't know if you remember, but he had... Like, an archipelago is a loose term here. He had, like, multiple countries just dipping and floating around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you think Fujitora dropping a meteor on you is bad? Luffy punching you through a continent is bad? This mofo Shiki out here just, like, dancing a continent on you. You know what I mean? It's just like, shit. Like, Shiki never used his abilities to his full potential. Yeah, dude had projectile sword slashes. Dude could fly. Dude could manipulate water. Sorry, what?
You know what's crazy about Shiki? If he wants to own an island,
He takes it.
all he has to do is float it up into the air, and he's like, "You guys are never going to be able to get down to buy or trade anything, unless you're like a perfectly self-sufficient country. You will die unless you just like let me rule you, because." You can't just get off the island. You know what I mean? The island's just suspended in the air.
Could you imagine Shiki's ultimate power up is he finds a poneglyph, and because they're indestructible, he just floats it around and uses it as a weapon? Just
That'd be pretty nice.
Dude, just gets 2 poneglyphs and just crushes you with them. that would be hilarious. Shiki, man, like Shiki, it did not make a lot of sense for Luffy to beat Shiki in that movie. I'm not gonna lie. Based on what we saw Shiki doing,
no one that he fights in the movies he should be able to beat. To be fair,
it was disgusting. Shiki is disgusting. Like, even now, Shiki is giving everyone that's not a first commander or up. Like, he's just taking everyone that's not first commander or up. I don't think there's a second division.
Like,
that movie was giving huge plot armor vibes.
Dude, 100%.
Even if you take Film Z and you give Luffy Conqueror's armament and Future Sight, which he could have theoretically been using without us seeing, kind of thing, still like, but how did he beat Z though? How did he beat? Because like,
dude,
if it was like going toe to toe with Kizaru for a sec, and I wouldn't say Luffy could beat Kizaru without going Gear 4 or 5 away.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, even at the end of the fight against Luffy, Z took on the entire Marine fleet. Dude took on like 10 vice admirals and an admiral, and it was just getting shot full of holes and just kept beating their asses. You know what I mean? Not to mention, like, I mean, Shiki, I'm gonna say it again, the water control, right? We saw him pick up a mini ocean and drown a motherfucker. Like, he just drowned a mofo with a mini ocean. Could you imagine, like, we talk about Big Mom getting TKO'd. Dude, he could have just submerged Big Mom. What's she gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, dead ass. Like, he's got a TKO for some top tiers.
Like, how's Big Mom defending her territory against him if he just flies in from nowhere, hidden under cover of darkness, flies in, touches one of her islands on the outskirts, and just floats it up into the sky, and then leaves, and then comes back like 3 days later, just on random intervals, just floats one island at a time.
Dude, could you imagine him fighting Law? Law, like, manages to dice him up, and then because he's touching all of his clothes, he can still float, so he's essentially Buggy. But better. And with DC. A fishman did biological stuff with a giant, and that's how we see sea monsters were born. Oof. No, that's how bloody Hamburg and his siblings were born in bloody Longring Longland. There is a giant, half fishman, and it gets dunked by Zoro. There are many fruit who can pick island. In the Skypiea map, there was a skull because the eyes were missing. Could it be those two are Laugh-Tail and God Valley nowadays? And that's the reason we can't navigate to those islands. The problem with that... The problem with the whole Skypiea thing is the whole, like... The City of Gold's in the right eye, but then you've got the whole... I've got to look up the dialogue for it specifically. I won't bother, actually. But you got the whole thing with the ringing of the bell. Well, with the ringing of the Grand Godfrey, we guide our ancestors home, right? And it's a big poneglyph bell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, we know that Kozuki made the poneglyphs and are the only people that do the poneglyph writing. So at some point in time, considering that bell is there, like obviously all the places with poneglyphs are connected, but they had an entire city covered head to toe in that writing. So at some point in time, Kozuki's lived in Shandia. At some point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, for all we know, 800 years ago when this country went down, they just ended up dipping, and the Kozuki family were like the last big enemy against the world government, and they just jumped from Allied Island to Allied Island, leaving a poneglyph as they like ran around the world until they managed to resettle back in Wano, set up the barriers, and just die out. Like, I don't know.
Like, talk about royal privilege. Tomo was like 10 or 11 or something like that. Suddenly, he's a fully grown adult with like a super tough body just because of his lineage. Yeah. He has the dragon fruit and he can fire Boro breaths, and he's basically inherited pretty much as many his own pick from as many legendary blades as he wants, because he can just hunt down that dude who's stolen them all and like be like, hey, give me this one.
Yeah. I mean, not to mention he's already got one of them from his dad, one of the 21.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got like one of the greatest blades in the world, the best fruit in the world, or one of the best fruits in the world, and one of the strongest physical bodies in the world.
Not to mention, right? The Kozuki made the poneglyphs and some of the highest grade weapons in the world. Are we just glossing past that? Like, they're not like hands down the best crafters in the planet at the moment?
Yeah, they are, straight up. Problem is, I don't remember how to do it.
Dude, they're like Buggy. We just fell up. You know, I just fell up one day, hit this rock, and it just magically formed this magic text, and I was just like, yes, sweet.
I'd actually love it if there was just like one random dude, and he was just a blacksmith, and he was kind of bad, but every time he made a blade, it just turned out like amazing. And he was just like, I just kept making all these different shapes of blades, and they just kept turning out awesome.
That'd be great. Kazuki made made a sword out of sea prism stone. That would be cool. I would love to see more sea prism weapons. I'm a little upset. Like, we saw the bullets for them here, but like outside of Smoker's GT, we haven't seen a sea prism weapon. I reckon it'd be cool if CP0 had like sea prism knuckle dusters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that way they could shave in, punch you regardless of your fruit, and then they could still do their finger pistol, and like as the finger pistol's going into you, it hits you and turns off your devil fruit because the knuckle duster's still there made of sea stone.
It'd be cool if like one of the CP agencies never had fruits, like, you know, one of the numbers of the CP never had fruits, and their specialty was they just like embedded sea stone into like their fingers and stuff. And then they were like specifically meant to go after devil fruit users. Be cool.
If I pick a weapon,
Having like because there's so many different CP agencies, it'd be cool to see them that like each of the one is like specialized in something different, not just that they're like ranked, you know. So yeah, it'd be cool if like, you know, one are good at like taking out royalty and other ones are good at taking out devil fruit users and stuff like that.
Well, again, Jabra and Kumidori and the owl one, right? They had taken down a revolutionary captain.
Okay.
They were introduced like they were introduced saying they were sent to take down revolutionary army leaders, and they had successfully done so in assassinations.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like it's a throwaway line. I wish it came back more in the story. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
imagine if like when the I don't know. We don't have time for it anymore. I almost wish there were a few more people that were introduced earlier on, just like inside panel sort of things as throwaways, and it's just like you get to see them like get assassinated and that throughout the story, but it's like a back and forth. So it's like every now and then you cut to the revolutionaries and like they've caught a CP member and they're interrogating them, and then vice versa you cut to like the world government side and it's like, oh, we killed this revolutionary.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
If I would pick a weapon in One Piece, I would choose Climb Attack, Raid Suit, Shodai Kitetsu, or Kabuto. After some arc, Zoro lost from his crew and meet Law, and Law would be like,
I think they're
"Don't
asking
mess
you
with me."
which one you would choose.
Oh, okay. What would I choose? Raid Suit,
Yep. Same.
dude. Go go Power Rangers, immune to fire and lightning. Da, 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 da. Plus, I can accelerate at the speed of light. What? Yes, please.
It would just be good to train in as well, especially considering we're just like normal ass people.
Yeah,
It'd, like give you a chance to like. I mean, suddenly you can punch trees and shit to train
dude.
without breaking your hand.
Which raid suit would I get? Would I get the laser abilities? What, could I turn invisible? Dude, if I could turn invisible,
I would
sheesh.
assume you'd get Sanji's because Sanji's was like designed
For a
with
lamer.
in mind someone who doesn't have any powers.
After some arcs, Zoro lost his crew and meet Law, and Law would be like, "Don't mess with him," and he's the right hand of the Pirate King. That would be funny. If at some point in time, like later on, like you cut to the future, and it's like there's like some big name pirate that we know of, or even dude, imagine if it was just like Kuro or something, right? And like Kuro's gang's like picking on like they're yelling at Zoro, and Zoro's just like at a pub looking for booze, and it's like a remake of the bar scene with Shanks and Higuma, right?
Hmm.
And it's like the flip side of it though is instead of them razzing him, it's like everyone's razzing Zoro, and then like Kuro turns around and is like, "Don't mess with him. That's the right hand of the Pirate King. What are you doing?" And they're like, "What?" And he's like, "I lost to him years ago. You don't mess with the Pirate King's crew." That'd be a cool callback.
Yeah,
That
that
gear would
would
be
be.
cool though. That that gear would be cool. Those weapons and suit. Yeah, they would. They would. If you could modify your own raid suit, what would be its color and power? Green, because green is my favorite color. I would definitely want the invisibility, but
What?
I'm just trying to think.
Okay.
What other power? What? I think it's hard because it's like which Vince smokes have even got the best power? Because like essentially, as far as we know, Yonji's like got no power. He just got augmented as a cyborg after, right?
Yeah.
Sanji got Diablo Jambe, Reiju got augmented later and got the poison, but that was also a devil fruit.
Yeah.
And then Niji got the light lasers.
Let's just say to make it easy that all of them let you use the power. So
Yeah.
you can use the poison and you can turn your arm into a winch for some reason.
Dude, that'd be cool. Imagine finger winches. You know what I mean?
I would honestly say Ichiji's probably got the best just because it's just like an outright damage, whereas like poison is like you gotta wait for them to take damage from it and stuff.
I don't know. I'd go the
Or
invisibility.
invisibility, of
Yeah, dude,
course.
the
But
invisibility is pretty G.
yeah, the only
Uh,
thing is that I'm thinking if it's just like us, how are we gonna hurt anyone? All you do is go invisible and run
dude,
away.
uh,
What have we got? But if you got laser powers, you can kill all fodder pretty
you
easily.
You guys don't know how upset I am that Sanji said he'd give the suit to Frankie and Usopp so they could come up with a better design for it, and then he breaks the raid suit.
Yeah.
If Frankie and Usopp don't give him another suit that they've designed, because they copied the specs and they just adjusted it, do you have any idea how sad I'm gonna be in life? Dude, we got raid suit Sanji for one arc. That's not a gimmick I wanted to go away, is it? Could you imagine if he turned it into a proper suit? Not like the raid suit, but like a proper suit?
Yeah, it would be cool.
It'd be sick.
Might see it. I hope we see it.
Yellow and the power would be light. So essentially, Ged, what you're saying is you want to be Kizaru. Me too. I would love to be Kizaru. Kizaru's a G. He's tall too. Kizaru could play in the NBA. He's a taller Adam Sandler. Alright, we've been going for 2 hours now. We should wrap this stream up soon. Do you have any theories, while chat's thinking of their last questions, do you have any theories on what's going to happen next chapter? Either of you?
I don't know. I guess I've been quiet because I kind of just been listening this whole time, but I've been talking to New World about how I'm actually not a big fan of the writing at the moment. My issue isn't where I think Shanks is or where I think Green Bull is. I think I mentioned last stream that I wasn't a big fan of how Kaido was written, and I find Green Bull's the fact that he was the cliffhanger before the month break and he's already basically down and out or disappeared, whatever how you want to call it, really lazy. And I know that's going to be really unpopular, but I just don't like how everything's being thrown together. Like, I love the bit with Shanks, but I felt like Shanks deserved a little bit more if he was going to be shown, and I just think Green Bull again was. So I'm not pessimistic, but I am like, okay, I want to see something get a little bit better. So I think I've been really disappointed recently, and it's maybe not pacing. It's just the way that characters are being treated this late stage in the game. I just find it very bizarre. That might just be me.
No, I definitely get that. It's hard, right? Because things like with Kaido's writing and stuff like that, it's like it could get readdressed in like a Yamato flashback, but at the same point in time, if you have to rely on a Yamato flashback for the arc to feel complete, I feel like it's failed a little. If that makes sense. Like, stuff that comes later on in the story should always enhance what you've already read, not necessarily.
That's what I feel. I feel like I can't remember what the name of it is now, but there's a law of writing. I cannot remember what it is. I'll find it. But it states that if you bring something into a cliffhanger or you bring something into a suspenseful moment and it's resolved very quickly, it's actually one of the fatal flaws of writing. And while I completely appreciate we're in a time crunch towards the end of Wano, considering that Shanks is there, I don't know if it was acceptable for Green Bull to be that. Like, we left with, Jack and King and Queen and everyone suffering, and then it was like blank month break. And so this whole time you had this narrative expectation of shit, what's going to happen, and really nothing has. And now he's running away. Like, it's quite. He seems to, with powerful characters this late stage in the game, and I think personally from my perspective it started in Whole Cake with Big Mum and the writing around Big Mum. He's introducing these really strong characters who I'm sure he's had planned for a while, but I actually don't think he had an out game for any of these characters. Because you got Green Bull running away. Big Mum, I feel like, was just not demonstrated as much as she could have, and I feel like we all know my feelings of Kaido. And I'm hoping that Shanks is about to have that turnaround, especially with Film Red, um, with him being late stage in the game. But it just feels like towards the end now, we're at a stage where there has to be ways for these characters to be written out or beaten because they are so powerful. But I don't know if I feel like the detail given to these characters is there I feel like they just exist for the sake of narrative. And I think the only reason that stands out to me is I've never felt that way about Oda's writing. I've always felt like every character has a purpose being where they are. Even Ace with him dying. He never just felt like a character plot, even though that's what he was created for. He always felt like his own standalone character, whereas Kaido just felt like an obstacle to be beaten. And while that's fine, that's like I just feel like Arlong had more, and that was the beginning stage of the game. And I feel very similar that way, with a little bit of bile in my mouth with Green Bull. I was like, I don't have any problems if he had to bounce. I've got no problem if he had to be beaten. But he was the cliffhanger, and now he's already gone. Like that was his bam, we're finished. We're gonna go on One Piece break. We're about to wrap up the series. And that's what we got. I don't think his writing's paying off at the moment, and I understand that a lot of people probably think that that is a very red hot thing to say. But that's just me, and I only think that stands out to me because I don't think that that's how he usually, not for me, how I usually read his writing, because I think he does characters so well, arguably better than any anime is Oda writing such a vast array of characters and even side characters. Like my brain's blanking. Like Senior Pink.
Mm.
This it doesn't even have to have a complex backstory. It's just those characters never feel like they just exist for no reason. Whereas I'm starting to feel that way with a lot of big tier characters that have started to either resurface or currently going. That's just me.
I think it definitely did strike me pretty weird how him running away.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think I mentioned in our Discord that I copped spoilers for this chapter. The spoiler that I copped was that Shanks uses Conqueror's Haki and then Green Bull runs away. And as soon as I read he runs away, I was like, he just runs like characters in One Piece or in any anime really don't just like
Run
run
away.
away.
See, the thing
Yeah.
is, after I finished the chapter, right? I finally got on Twitter and I saw like I could see some of the spoilers and that. And like you know me, I freaking avoid that stuff like the plague. And I could see the reactions to people from some of the spoilers from earlier in the week and stuff like that, right?
Mm.
And it was like it looked like the consensus was when the spoilers first dropped. People were like immediately like, "This is terrible." Then when the chapter dropped, people were like, "This is nothing like the spoilers made it out to be." It's still a little bad, yeah, but it's like people were running wild with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know. I guess for me, I'm worried, and I think that strikes me as worried because if anyone doesn't know, I am a Naruto fan. Um, and for me, one of my issues with the series is even though I want to reread, Kaguya is actually foreshadowed, even though very briefly. I always felt that leaving that to the very last minute was not the best move. And
Execution.
so yeah, and so for me personally, my biggest fear with Oda, especially since it's been ongoing so long, and you can tell he's fatiguing. Not in a negative way. I just who wouldn't be? You know what I mean? Like who wouldn't be tired at this point
Hmm.
in writing this series? And for me, it's my biggest concern is people like Shanks, people like Im, who have only really like in the timeline that One Piece has existed is hinted at being the big bad and has only existed a very short amount of time. And I'm worried that with the way he's handling characters like Big Mom and Kaido and now Green Bull, it's having a very Kaguya-esque feel. And I guess whereas the only saving grace for Naruto was that it was only one character that, granted, still the big main last battle character, and it went, what the hell was that? It's starting to become a repeated pattern for me where I'm unimpressed with Big Mom. I'm unimpressed with Kaido. And now with Green Bull running away, I'm unimpressed with Green Bull. And I guess my concern is, especially the fact that we've not seen anything from Blackbeard either. Like, we've not seen anything from Blackbeard, and he's supposed to be one of our big bads. Like, we were not getting. Like, I don't give a shit about Blackbeard, and I feel like I should. I feel like I want. And I love Ace more than anybody, if anybody knows. Like, and to the degree that I love him, I want to name my son Ace. Like, let's. That's how hardcore it is. And yet, I don't care. And I think that should narratively be a warning when I have nothing towards this character who I should hate. I should want Luffy to beat. I should want victory for this character, and I just don't feel it
Mm.
because I've just got nothing on Blackbeard. Past Marineford, nothing. I've got nothing really.
I feel like the big thing around Blackbeard's character is how little we know about him. In the sense of like it's like there are all
He's a
these
mystery.
theories around, why is there three skulls on his flag? Can he get a third fruit? Like him devil fruit hunting,
Mm,
why does he never
yeah,
have to sleep? What's his connections with Zebek? How did he like get to know about the darkness fruit and stuff?
yeah,
Um, and then there's like a lot of like little things like that that like make him very kind of like mysterious. And so I feel like every time we see him, he's just very very confident, and he's very like he's just having a ball, and he's like, yeah, I've got this all in the bag. um and I think it will be interesting when we get to see him, because we'll get to see that all those things built out. We'll get to see his connection with Zebek and
yeah,
the deal with his fruit and all that stuff. I think Shanks, I was thinking about this the other day, is that like I think Shanks is probably one of the better written characters just overall in general, like all shows, just because of like how expertly it is. It's like you can introduce a character right from the start that's so badass, and all of the fans, all of the readers of your series want to see more of him, and you can very easily show more of him and show a little flashbacks with him and stuff. But you just don't, and he just held off and held off, and he like
yeah.
intentionally made Shanks with that character of like we barely ever see him, but every time we see him, it's like everyone goes crazy,
Mm.
and it's like really cool to see that kind of thing
The
in the
explosion of
show where
excitement.
Do you
yeah, and then
do you
it's
think
it's like
though
we have
that it's
no reason to hype him up
a
so much, but we
narrative
all do.
problem though, in the sense that I completely agree about Shanks. It's why I love Shanks as well. But when you've got that pattern of behavior, is it intentional or is it stuff that's never going to get paid off? For example, like, yeah, that's awesome that Shanks is like that, but then so's now Im, so's now Blackbeard, so's now, you know what I mean? Like, there's a series of big tier characters that are like that, and is it actually just
Yeah,
holes in the writing, or is it actually supposed to be cool? And that's where I'm starting to go. I now no longer know, hey, this is he intended to do this. It's actually supposed to be mysterious, or is it just he's put in too much than he can chew, and now we're probably not going to get payoff for a lot of the things. Like even Dragon, another huge example of
yeah.
someone who I
See,
don't
like
believe will ever
yeah,
come full circle to the significance of what they were written to. Like
I don't
that's
really know if
yeah,
they're necessarily like holes in writing, but I do definitely think that there's like it's kind of like probably too many really long-term payoffs, like end of series
That haven't
payoffs.
been
Like
paid off.
even yeah, and I mean you could even think about like like what is the D? What is the will of D? What is the nature of Haki? How does that happen? Where do the fruits come from? What's the deal with them, and why can't you swim when you eat them? All of the ancient weapons, like who wrote like the poneglyphs and the Void Century. There's like a bajillion different things that are all gonna get paid off in the very, very, very late game, and I think it is pretty fair to say like there's a bit too many of them, and maybe some of them should have been getting paid off like within the last few hundred chapters, so we can
Well,
slowly get them paid off. Like maybe we meet Shanks now that he's a Yonko, um, and then that's out of the way, and then we fight Blackbeard next. And I think like Im is kind of okay. I have a lot of fear around. I absolutely despise the ending of
the
Naruto.
Kaguya.
um, Kaguya was just no. It wasn't. The thing is that even before Kaguya, it was ridiculous. It was like Madara coming back, and then all of those other Hokage, all the other past Kage being there, and then suddenly now it's like okay, now there's Obito all along, and he's been the bad guy. It was just so many. Like I'm the big bad guy. No, I'm the big bad guy. It was just and then the rate at which Naruto got like an insane, ridiculous power boost, how he was like, he was pretty strong, like he beat Pain, and that was really cool. And then next minute he meditates in a
I
cave for
mean,
a bit, and then he just comes out and solo wins the entire
even then
war
at
on his
the end,
own.
Ghost Jesus was like, I'm gonna heal you up to full health and give you and your buddy a get out of jail free attack."
Yeah, and like I feel like I say this a lot, so like it's pretty well documented by now, but like I'm very scared about the end of One Piece getting a bit too out of hand with all the moon stuff that could potentially happen, and the M being some weird alien from, Galaxy Destroyer guy. It really worries me because I don't want it to go down, and I see it go down that way in a lot of anime, not just in Naruto, but in a lot of different anime. The end of it always gets really weird. It's like, yeah, it started out as like you're hunting deer in a forest, and now you're throwing galaxies at each other.
No, I completely agree. I think that's a problem in writing in general. Like you look at for a popular example that has nothing to do with anime. Another huge series I'm a big fan of, Harry Potter.
Hmm.
But it looped itself around on the this is the chosen one, and there was a prophecy, and it existed before you were even born, and it could have been you or it could have been Neville, and you just got lucky that it was you, and it became this plot armor, I guess, for Harry that he was a Horcrux and he could live, even though he was
Yeah.
gonna die, and and again, I think I can register my bias because I do actively say I love Naruto. I think it's a series that changed my life in a very phenomenal way in terms of I love the way when I compare it to One Piece, I love One Piece because it's a comedic story with seriousness, whereas Naruto is a serious story with some comedy. It doesn't have the lightheartedness that accompanies One Piece and that One Piece does well. I don't think it tries to, and I feel like that's why One Piece fans and Naruto fans differ on that thing. I think they like each other's series, but that people that are drawn to probably more darker stories in its essence that lacks more comedy are probably more Naruto fans. Whereas I love that One Piece is this comedy that is encapsulated with tragedy and writes tragedy in such a serious and emotional way. I love that. You don't see that very often. Um,
Mm.
but I do worry for One Piece that
I,
because it's ongoing that it will lose the plot. Like I love that Luffy has this zone, and but with all of this mythology and stuff that's bringing brought up, I'm a bit like you. I'm worried that we're going to go down the rabbit hole of this is the prophecy and legacy, and you're actually a god reincarnated, like more in depth and crazy than just a boy on an island who cut his face because he wanted to join a pirate crew and wanted to be pirate king. I would worry that
mm,
it loses its essence of what it really is. I guess if that makes sense. Like I don't mind if there's a little bit of fun and a little bit of heavy mythology. I think that's okay. I just don't want it to lose what it is, which is just this story of this boy that just woke up and was like, you know what? If you don't think I can be a pirate, I'm just gonna turn around and be the best pirate there is, and I'll just go take Pirate King title.
so
Watch me go.
the thing,
Like, and that's what it is.
the thing I think at this point, like we are talking before about all the payoff, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Oda's specifically not paid off a lot of stuff, specifically because he knows the back half of the, like, from here, at this point right here, until the end of the story, is going to just be carried by the payoffs. You know what I mean? There,
Yeah,
I'm
that
sure
is like
there will,
kind of fair.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of build up, but essentially he took 25 years to do setup for what was originally going to be a 5-year story, and he's now done the 25 years of setup. He's at the point where he was going to do his original 5-year story run, and he's just like, all this cool stuff that I've been setting up, I'm going to pay off. And if you don't like it, it is what it is, because I'm going to have fun with it. But it's just going to be from here till the end of the story, just trying to consistently build payoff, 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 payoff. Because I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people are really going to necessarily understand. Like, when we get to the One Piece and stuff like that, it's going to feel great, yeah? But it's also, like, it's laugh tale because it's meant to make you laugh. It's meant to be funny. It's not meant to be, like, too serious. I know a lot of people are like, the One Piece is going to be this tragic, messed up story. It's going to be a comedy at the end of the day, really. You know what I mean?
Because that's what it is. Like that comparison between Naruto. Naruto was always more of a tragedy with areas of comedy. But One Piece has always been a comedy, which is why when people were so upset about the whole Gear 5 thing, I was like, well, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but it's always kind of been that way.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
That's the point of Luffy's character.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
the point is, I was like, if we wanted the seriousness, we would have watched this journey through kids' eyes. You know what I mean? Like dark and gritty and edgy and like, I lost my arm, but I trudged through it. No, we were laughing at people. You know what I mean? Having fun.
Like Luffy asking zombies to join his crew because
Or
he thinks
pushing
they
them
look
back
funny.
down into the
Into the
grave. Like,
soil.
you don't belong up
Yeah.
here, buddy. Nope, down you go.
Even in this chapter, by the way, when Law blips up next to Robin, she's
Oh,
like,
dude.
"That's not fair."
Dude, I loved that moment. That, to me, I saw that and was like, that's just cementing my ship there of the Law and Robin at the moment. Not like
I do like
for,
Laura
for
and Robin,
years.
to be honest.
For years, I was a Zoro Robin. Now I'm sort of like, Law's one of my. Law is my favorite Supernova, and I'm like, Law, come get you your best gal. You've earned it.
Zoro's
That's
gonna
because
marry a
Law's
sword.
also your favorite like character, and then Robin's your like One
Yeah,
Piece waifu.
they're the
So
power
for
couple.
you, that would be the best couple.
That's like the Yami and Charlotte to me. It's the power
Oh
couple
yeah.
of this series. You know what I mean? I just need it to go through. Dude, that gag though, that was hilarious when he blips beside her and she's just looking at him like, you piece of shit. Cause like,
Yeah.
dude, he could have blipped her up there too. That's the worst part about it. She crawled.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
crawled through mold, dust, and like bedrock to get up there, and he's just like, "Sup? You come here often?"
But I think like with the whole like One Piece and Naruto sort of like comparisons is like the way that I tend to see it isn't more along the lines of like serious versus goofy. It's more like the world building aspect where like I guess like Naruto probably focuses more on like interpersonal relationships a bit more. Um, I just don't think it does as good of a job as like having like a really big authentic world,
Naruto
which
doesn't
is
deal
why
well with its
I give
extended
some props to
roster.
Boruto.
Nar-
But
Yeah,
I,
I mean,
yeah, that's
just simple
weirdly
things
what I
like
think
how the
of
hell they're gonna
charming.
walk there in 3 days? How are they walking from the Sand Village to the Leaf Village in 3 days? But then you're looking at a map and it's like it's the other side of the continent kind of deal. There was just like a lot of like little things that and then the curse marks always struck me as a bit weird, and I don't even know if they really got explained much.
they're just explained as that all the curse mark is Orochimaru artificially using Jugo's bloodline, and all Jugo's bloodline is people that can naturally use Sage mode by bringing in Nature Chakra. That's it.
Okay, then the other thing, why is Hashirama Cells some god complex thing?
Because Hashirama's cells have got that vitamin Hashirama in them. Dude, he's got strong
And
swimmers.
okay, and
Yeah,
then the other thing, oh, the Sharingan is really cool, and Sasuke's really cool because he has the Sharingan. Oh wait, now there's the Mangekyo Sharingan, but it's gonna make you go blind. Oh wait, now you no longer go blind. Oh wait, now there's the Renegan. Like, just stop adding things.
Okay,
Just let it be cool.
to be
And then now
fair,
your
the
Sharingan can
dairy
summon an
variations of
armor of
the
chakra.
Sharingan are no different than variations of Haki to me. They're all Sharingans, but there are just variations of what each do. For me, I accept most criticisms of Naruto, but I will probably have
I
to draw the line there because the different Sharingans do different things, no different from different theories of
I
Haki.
Okay,
think both of you
then
were.
allow me to continue. You have
Mm.
two ocular jutsu. You have Sharingan and the Byakugan. The Byakugan's meant to be stronger, but everybody with the Sharingan is stronger than everybody with the Byakugan. Additionally, why does having some weird ocular jutsu make you significantly stronger than everyone else when you have all these other people with these Kekkei Genkai, dude that can make bones come out of his body and all that stuff, but none of them have anywhere close to power? What is the significance of the eye, and why does having an eye jutsu make you better than everyone else no matter what? Like, to the point where you're keeping up with the Nine
Do you
Tails,
want the answer?
who can like fully
I
use
think
I've
it's
no
no
no no. no. I
different
got
than
the answer for
having
this.
really good Haki and being
I
able to
got
keep up with people that are Devil
I
Fruit
got the
users.
answer for this, and it's an answer that's very plain, very simple, very few words, and it applies to all series. It is the rule of cool. If it is cool, do it.
It's that
Authors say that
complicated,
all the
like
time.
in that regard, like it's probably not as well outlined, but it's no different than the people with Haki having the ability to keep up with people with huge devil fruits.
but
It's no
but the
different to me in my
difference.
brain of Shanks being able to keep up with people like Whitebeard, people like Kaido and friggin' Big Mom who made it to where they got to based on devil fruits. If they've got high levels of chakra or what in this case, Haki or etc. or their whatever, then that's how they keep up. It's the variational equivalent in that story to me anyway.
Yeah, but the difference being is that the ocular jutsus is just two random clans that also both happen to come from the Leaf
Kaguya.
Village, and there's no other clans from any of the other villages. And then you have to be born with that specific bloodline and all that stuff. Whereas Haki is just like a willpower
That-
thing that everyone can.
That
can
comes back
get.
to what I was saying before, where the Hidden Leaf dominates because the Hidden Leaf has a monopoly on the best races and the best land for resources. It's the only place that isn't a desert, isn't submerged in water, isn't stone. You know what I mean? Isn't in snow.
Then continuing, the weird races and stuff like, what was it? Naruto's mum's clan.
The Uzumakis.
How like they all have like more chakra pool.
Yep.
But have not enough generations gone by that they've just like interbred with all the other clans yet, or is just everyone in Naruto inbred?
Everyone in Naruto is inbred, and those that aren't inbred are soon to be.
I don't know.
And
It's just-
okay, I
a
mean,
lot of
all
it
of
is just a
them,
bit-
all of
A lot
them,
of it is just a bit interesting.
all of them are descendants from Kaguya, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess.
So
I mean,
Naruto,
it's
who's an
from the
Uzumaki,
sun
is
or whatever.
low-key bedding his cousin, Hinata. His long-distant cousin.
Wait, that's actually. Are they all
Yeah,
descendants? Are they?
yeah.
So when Kaguya came to the world, there was literally no population on the world.
There were people, there were living humans, right? And chakra existed, but anyone that's got any of the Indra or Ashura bloodlines are direct descendants of them. So anyone with the ocular jutsus, anyone from the Kaguya
Oh, okay.
clan, Uzumaki clan, all those clans,
Yeah, I get
right?
I get you.
They're all direct descendants of Kaguya.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew that. I thought you were saying like literally everyone on the planet is a descendant of her.
No. But I mean, considering everyone essentially has a bloodline in them at this point in time, except for people that just can't do anything like Lee, they pretty much everyone but Lee is essentially related by the end of the day.
Also, what the fuck's going on with Lee, man?
He's just
Because like that's the thing. You could do a little bit of a world building, have a little side arc where Lee goes to another village, meets a bunch of kids that don't have any chakra, and then they look up to him a little bit. It's not like he's the only one that exists who can't do it.
Mm. I mean, dude, even Guy can use jutsu.
I know, yeah. Guy, he just chooses to punch.
Yeah. And he's damn well good at it. Definitely feels the same way about the inbreeding, but it does seem to be that they selectively breed with people with high levels of chakra. Hashirama, for example. Yeah, no, like I don't disagree with it. Right? Well, like we know it's a part in it.
That's why arranged marriages
Dude.
were a really huge thing.
I remember
because
when
the best way to reach good, which is why so many people in Boruto are like Sadara and Boruto
Yeah,
need to get
dude,
together.
when Boruto got
Even though
announced, that was the
personally,
leading ship, even though they've got no right to be together.
at all. But the fact is that it's not, because even though genetics have some part to play in the world of One Piece in terms of almost your disposition, I think, because if you look at the friggin' bloodline of Dragon, Garp, Luffy, that's obvious.
Why
But-
does Boruto and Himawari not already have Sage of Six Paths blood? Because they come from the bloodline that had the ocular jutsu, mixed with the Uzumaki that had the physical jutsu, like the physical. You know how it was split between like you either get my ocular prowess or my physical prowess.
Right.
Well, Naruto comes from the physical side, and Hinata comes from the ocular side. The kids essentially have the Sage of Six Paths DNA already mixed up in them. They're specifically just missing Uchiha. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They should already be getting that stuff. They've already got the DNA. It's in the genetic code.
What stuff? What stuff are we talking about?
The stuff that essentially turns you into the Sage of Six Paths. The grey people gravy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, there was a filler rep where someone from the Sand Village made his own 8 gates. A filler episode of Boruto? Is it? Because I don't remember seeing that in Naruto. Anyway. Alright. is there anything else anyone wants to say about the chapters before we wrap up? Because I am getting damn tired here. I'm in full-blown zombie mode right now.
Oh, good.
All good. Sage of Six Paths was gifted to Naruto and Sasuke to kill Kaguya. Yeah, but the whole thing about becoming an Otsuki is you're mixing the Ashura and Indra bloodlines together. Right? So that Sage of Six Paths energy is Otsuki energy, right? The Otsuki energy is just having both of those paths of chakra mixed together. I mean, that was the whole point of Orochimaru at the end of the day. He essentially, without realizing it, was almost becoming a Otsuki because he had Kimimaru from the Kaguya bloodline. He was collecting Sasuke from the Uchiha bloodline. He was learning all sorts of jutsu. He was learning about Sage Mode from Jugo. He had Karan, who was an Uzumaki. He was essentially one petri dish away from turning himself into an Otsuki. But yeah. That's a whole different story of crazy old Orochimaru. Next chapter, I didn't say this yet. Next chapter, what I reckon is going to happen is we're going to get Yamato officially join the crew. We're going to get the whole crew's bounty, right? And the cliffhanger for next week is going to be Blackbeard. Being the Gomu chapter, nothing says Gomu like Straw Hats reveals the last Straw Hat to join and the Straw Hat's biggest enemy.
Okay, then, do you think we'll straight up find out what Blackbeard got?
I think we'll find out who the 10th Titanic captain is, not next week, but the week after.
Okay, well then what next week? It's just a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I reckon.
So you just see him.
Yeah.
But in what way are we going to see him? Is it just literally going to be a panel of his face?
The same way we sort of saw Shanks, like, on the outside of Wano.
Yeah, but we saw what Shanks was doing.
Yeah, so I think we'll see Blackbeard on his ship talking a little bit, but it'll just be like, next week we're going to see Blackbeard properly do something, or talk about something, you know what I mean?
Because I'd imagine if we see Blackbeard, it'll be either before or after he gets whatever he's going to get. And I think it'll probably be, like, painfully obvious.
Didn't you say that what he was going to get, I believe Supernova was talking the other day, and his theory was, correct me at any time if I've got it wrong, that with the fruit, that they've just been stalking Shanks' ship.
I said it's a possibility.
Invisible?
I said it's a very well
And
possibility.
that when he was on the move, that thing he was talking about was actually the One Piece. So he's just been fucking stalking Shanks' crew this whole time to spring on him. And now that would mean that in Laugh Tale, it will arrive Blackbeard, Shanks, and Luffy's crew at the same time for the three-way fight off for it.
Oh, definitely
Which
be interesting.
honestly, I definitely like that idea, to be honest. It seems very Blackbeard to try and fly under the radar, to try and stunk in and get something, like the quite literal stab in the back move. I could see him clouding his ship and following Shanks now that Shanks is on the move, and then it will have brought him to Laugh Tale.
It's possible.
Because they've had altercations in the past. And his response was very, I'm not, ready, we're not going to fight you again. That kind of mentality of there's going to be another altercation between Blackbeard and Shanks. Or the hint of one. So I wouldn't mind that, to be honest.
It'll definitely be interesting. What do
The
you...
only problem that I have with an altercation between Blackbeard and Shanks is, like, Luffy has to be the one to take out Blackbeard, and I don't want Shanks to die.
I feel like Shanks would lose. I don't think he'll die, but I think he'd lose to Blackbeard.
I think
and that in that one go, Luffy becomes over Shanks, which is the final Yonko barrier for him of the old gen, and knocks Blackbeard out of the way. It's that moment where Shanks can actually see that Luffy has become that great pirate that we talk about. And because of that, then as Supernova and I discussed, he goes to give back the hat, and Shanks will kind of be like, okay, well, what are you going to call yourself now? You're not finished yet. And then Luffy will just go, we're the Pirate King's crew. That's what we're going to be known as. So there could be this altercation of Shanks does lose to Blackbeard now, but Luffy beats Blackbeard. So that process, by that, means that Luffy's come out on top and gives the hat back.
The problem I have is...
I'll continue.
Sorry, the problem I have is I can't see Blackbeard and Shanks fighting and Shanks surviving. So at this point in time, I think the ship sailed. Maybe Shanks and Blackbeard don't actually end up having an altercation. The subversion of expectations is they're gonna fight, and maybe they just don't. You know what I mean? You know how it's like very stereotypical in like manga to be like, this has been set up, they're gonna fight, he's gonna lose, and we're gonna have to get revenge. Oda just is like,
The only
no.
thing that I'd say there is that it's been set up 100% by the fan base. It hasn't even really been alluded to by
Outside of Blackbeard saying it's
other
not
than the
time to fight
scar
you
on the-
yet, and the scar.
Other than the scar on the eye. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Guess so. Like that's the thing is that like I could totally see if he's showing up at Laugh Tale and then Shanks is already there just chilling out and he's like, hey, now you got to fight me to become the Pirate King, and he kind of explains like, oh, this whole time I've been kind of waiting for the Joy Boy because Roger told me that it wasn't his time, but during my timeline the Joy Boy will arise, and so I've been waiting for Joy Boy this whole, give that whole explanation. And then he's basically like, this is your last test, and then he like fights Luffy. Um, like I think that would be cool, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, then does Blackbeard go down before or after?
I think Jay Rich has just brought up an excellent point. I always like the theory that the war happens before they get to Laugh Tale, and Blackbeard is at Laugh Tale waiting for Luffy to take his fruit for the final treasure, but obviously Luffy beats him. I mean, at this point in time, the only reason I think we all thought the war was going to happen before Laugh Tale is because we thought the history is going to be the catalyst for us to fight the world government, right? But I mean, at this point in time, there's nothing to say that we don't fight the world government for other reasons. And then we get to the Laugh Tale, and like the end of the series is us getting to Laugh Tale, and it's like you should go take out the world government, and it's just like, well, all right, we already did it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Hey, what if it's just not that kind of story? What if Luffy beats Blackbeard, becomes Pirate King, and then when he gets out of Laugh Tale, Sabo's taken over the world government?
It's possible. I mean, this is a story about pirates.
Imu is there and he's some shady leader, but he's never actually like directly made an enemy of Luffy. He's just obviously wary of him because Joy Boy and all that.
Yeah.
Luffy's never said like, I bet you guys have a secret leader and I'm gonna take him down.
Look,
but he has done that for basically every pirate ever.
I think we've very reasonably limited our expectations after this arc, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. It's a bit of a bad thing because you shouldn't have to limit your expectations, but it's a good thing because it's just sort of like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. I will say though, Liv, like, definitely does kind of feel like I feel like Oda's mindset right now is he's writing it with the idea of like, I still want to make the series good and detailed and all that, but I want to end the series. That kind of thing. It's always a bit of a worry because you can't not have that mindset in a sense towards the end of the series.
After this long at the go, I don't blame him. I just worry that the series will not get its like. Here's the thing: if you were gonna spend 20 plus years writing something, right? You are gonna spend that long writing something. I understand being tired, but I also understand writing it the way that it should end. Because if you're gonna write something for that long, end it with such a bang. You know what I mean? But for me, I just feel like I feel some of that fatigue in the writing. That's just my biggest concern. For me, like if it ends up having fucking mythological shit like Naruto, I'd be like, oh fuck, but a radio. But my biggest concern is that because One Piece has had this same level of above average quality of its writing throughout its entire run of its existence, which is what's made it the most popular manga and anime on the planet, it has to end that way because it would be such a disservice to the series for it not to, and that's where I get scared. I get scared that he's growing tired, and he's getting older. He wants to spend time with his family because he barely sleeps. He barely spends any time with them. I get it. But I just hope that desire to want to end it as well as he started it still is what keeps it floating.
He doesn't just bail on it.
Yeah, that's me. Well, I mean, let's be honest. And I'm about to ruffle probably some more feathers, and I'm deeply sorry from that. But that's My Hero Academia to me. The author of My Hero Academia came out and said that he wanted it to be as long as he wanted it to be as long as One Piece, and it was going to be One Piece, and it was going to be superior to One Piece, and it was going to be all these things, and it's already ending.
Yeah.
And to me, Deku is a nowhere near believably end series strongest hero. It feels so rushed. It feels so disserviced to everything that he started out to want to have and claim the series to be, and have this character's goal arc of being strongest hero. Deku still doesn't feel like he's there, but he's it's ending whether or not I believe that Deku's there or not. And for me, Luffy, I want to feel all those years of emotion and pain and happiness that we watched Luffy grow into a man, and I want that to be as strong as it felt like when he started out in his little dinghy with Zoro that he rescued and who ate little fucking dirt rice on his, like, I want the same kid that I rooted for to feel as equally strong when he puts on that fucking cape and he goes, "I'm now Pirate King." And that for me is my biggest concern, as I want that writing to still be as excellent.
Mm.
Um,
I like that.
Yeah.
because
The
it's
thing
very
is like I think Oda is like a real. I mean, obviously, right now he's a real talented writer. Like, and so like I think he knows when the writing's good and when the writing's bad. But I think the difference is there's that level of like it's really good because he's got this arc and he's been wanting to write it for ages, and so he's going to slow it down and be really detailed and overthink all the little characters and create like these really cool in-depth characters. And then there's the all right, all the big stuff's going to happen now, and I want to wrap up the series in the next few years. And like as soon as you get that mindset versus the I love writing this and I'm gonna I want to write this as
It
well as
stops
I can.
becoming a passion project and starts becoming a work.
chore.
A
It starts
chore.
Yeah,
becoming chore. Yeah.
like suddenly you go from people like Axehand Morgan who had like seared a metal cigar holder onto his jaw because of his masculinity complex to a gifter who's I'm the head of a giraffe.
Yeah, and that's my thing, and I think that relates back to Kaido because when it comes to strength, Kaido is exactly where I thought he would be. Like maybe a little bit more, but I wasn't disappointed with his strength. But you look at the complexities. Like it doesn't even have to be much complexity. Like as you just mentioned, like fucking
Mm.
singeing on your jaw for like a fucking. But Otis put so much time into like Arlong and his story and where he was and Dofi and what he why he does and when what hit him around a character, and then I got to Kaido and I was like, I don't even need you to have a justification for your reasons, even if it's just to have fucking fun. I don't care, but just
Mhm.
tell me something about this dude. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I
Here's the
don't
thing.
care if
I
he's
know
like I don't even care if he's like I've gotten so strong. I've forgotten what it's like to live, so I just want to wreck shit. And I don't care, Straw Hat Luffy. If you get in the way, I'll wreck you too. Just something that made me understand, like, this is the character that you've waited to the end of the series for. This is why he wasn't introduced in Arlong Park. It's why he wasn't introduced pre-time skip. There's a reason this character has been saved for this moment. Why is it? And I never got that. It didn't even have to be big, but I just never got the why we waited so long with so much foreshadowing for Wano. For Kaido to be what he was wasn't good enough to me. And that's just me, I guess.
Yeah, like I know we've kind of had this conversation before, but like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm okay with there being a really big, strong character who's just kind of like I'm just big and strong, and because I'm
Yeah.
big and strong, I'm a Yonko.
I do whatever I want.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but so I think that's actually okay in terms of his character. I don't necessarily need his character to be really deep, but I was thinking about it more, and like it definitely would have been cool to at least see something like something a bit more in depth about the underground kind of like Joker and like that kind of scene and like the connections that the Yonko
Yeah.
have to like the general
Like the
world and like the
influence, like
impact.
how much have they actually been manipulating behind the scenes? Like even from
Mm.
like the fact that they said that Dofi had his fingers in politics, like he was able to manipulate that. I would have loved to
Yeah.
seen how he was influencing politics. What politics? Was he
Yeah.
influencing the Celestial Dragons? Did he have his finger in the government
I
pot?
mean,
How did
That's the
Kaido?
we
thing.
How
saw
did
it. It was
Kaido
just
spew
no
that?
name throwaway countries though. That's the thing. Like
Yeah.
we got the underground brokers in Whole Cake Island, but what about all the ones we saw at Punk Hazard watching? There's still like half of them that never showed up again in the story. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of stuff that it's like people like, oh, we're gonna pay it off. Oda is really great at setup. He hasn't done like there's a lot of setup in the story, a hell of a lot more setup than there is payoff, right? He's definitely better at writing the setup than he is the payoff. That's not to say he's not good at payoffs. It's just some of the payoffs have been not as grandiose as necessarily expected, if that makes sense.
One thing that I've been thinking recently is like these last few chapters were like each of them had like a really cool piece of information in them and a really cool event that happened. But every time I see one, it's almost like talking to one of my clients today about it, and he was saying like it's like being like drip fed like
Yep.
a really delicious drink. And it's like honestly, if you just gave me a mouthful, I'd be satisfied.
Yeah.
And I'd be like really happy, and then I could like wait for a bit. But if you feed me like one drop at a time, I'm just kind of like, just give me more. Like
Yeah, just
you get
hurry up.
impatient. Yeah. And so it's like, having like one chapter a week and with breaks every few chapters. And it's like, even if something pretty cool happens in each chapter, I just kind of get to a point where I'm just like, I just want more. Like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
That's why I am
Do you
thankful that
feel
I'm.
like in terms of writing, do you prefer I mean, like as a whole rounded character, not just like feats, what we've seen. If you were to just look at this character on paper, having not seen what you saw, do you believe that Big Mum or Kaido are better written? Or Kaido is better written? Like as a character that was your mouthful and you were like, you know what? That's pretty good.
So okay, so the thing is that I like Kaido more as a reader, which to me is kind of like at the end of the day, if I like Kaido more, then he's better written in that sense, if you get what I mean. Because it's like the whole point
He's
of
more
writing
enjoyable.
characters is the reader to like find them cool and interesting. But if I were to analyze it with like I'm writing an English essay, then I think like objectively Big Mom would be better written.
There are more moving parts in Big Mum's character.
But that's kind
Yeah.
of the hard thing is like because like some people will say that like the Lord of the Rings books aren't even necessarily better than the movies just because Tolkien is very poetic and he kind of waffles on about lots of like little poetic things,
He do be doing
whereas
that, yeah.
movies are just like really cool and action packed and really well represent the books and are really good like good
A picture
views.
paints a
And
thousand
so
words.
yeah, so like if you're not like super into English lit and you're reading the Tolkien books, you might just be a bit, this is a bit much. I'm going to put this down. So it's like it's kind of I think objectively his books are better than the movies for sure. If you're like English lit trying to like make an essay around it, in terms of just like viewer experience, it might just be better
Yeah.
to watch the movies.
No, I
And I
agree.
think that's kind of similar with Kaido. But then again, I mean, like, I'd probably identify more with like the really cool, big buff warrior dude rather than like the old lady who's a bit crazy, So, it's like I already kind of find
If Nanny
Kaido
McPhee
more.
was on steroids, that's that's honestly Big Mum.
Alrighty, we might wrap the stream up there. If you want to say your last words at all.
No, I'm all good.
Keen for next week.
Keen for next week. Next week, I don't know. Sunday, I'll be able to do the discussion video. I don't know how I'm going to be going for the live reaction because, like I said, Friday until Sunday at 7 a.m. I'm working, so it'll be play it. Yeah, yeah, that'll be it. But until then, cheers for coming by, guys. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right. And yeah, until the next chapter or until the next video piece, nothing but love, nothing but respect. Have a good one. Catch a J as well. Last guy in the comment section. Have a good one, my guy. Peace.